Podmortem would like to thank Original Cinematic for sponsoring this week's episode. Original Cinematic is an independent production company that has made it their mission to create, produce, and promote films that are inclusive, honor women, promote the LGBTQIA plus community, and provide prominent positions and roles to POC actors and filmmakers, and promote the films of marginalized and underrepresented populations. These are all things that are extremely important to our podcast as well.
Original Cinematic is currently accepting scripts and treatments. Both William and Xxena Rush are also available via email or Zoom to discuss writing and provide input and resources to all aspiring writers, free of charge. Their information will be made available in the show notes. There may be delays due to a hectic schedule and all projects being read on a first-come, first-served basis, but everything will be read and responded to. William Rush has individually produced numerous projects, including Pack is Here, Before, The Cottage, The Winemaker, and Day by Day. Their multi-award-winning film Group premiered and was celebrated at multiple film festivals as well as screenings, both in person and via Zoom, that were graciously made available to us and our patrons.
Original Cinematic has many exciting projects on the horizon. Their next film, Immersion, has been completed. The award-winning Sweetener is in development. Fetish begins shooting in September, and Encore will begin next spring. Their documentary, Women in Conversation, is slated for a September release, and we're looking forward to each and every one of them. It is truly an honor to partner with Original Cinematic, and we can't thank them enough for their contribution to our show. And now, back to our regularly scheduled program. Salutations! Welcome to Podmortem. I'm Reneé Hunter-Vasquez, joined as always by my co-hosts, my husband, and my brother.
Hi, I'm John Paul Vasquez.
Hi, I'm Travis Hunter-Sayapin.
This week, we're recording live from the Woodward Penitentiary Psychiatric and Correctional Facility for Women, discussing the 2003 supernatural horror film, Gothika. This film was directed by Mathieu Kassovitz and written by Sebastian Gutierrez. With Kassovitz at the helm for his American directorial debut, Dark Castle Entertainment aimed for a different and darker direction than their previous productions. Despite its talented cast, committed performances, compelling story, and shocking twist, the film was met with mixed to negative reviews upon its release. Still, Gothika remains a favorite, if not a guilty pleasure, among many horror fans. This film was requested to us by friends of the show, Probably My Jugs, Beth Bauer, Lisa Misfit, Felnez63, Deborah Lewis, Murder Stina, Skank Sinatra, Seth Adams, Bay J, Scarly D, and Tanner Rutgers. We want to thank them all for their support as well as the suggestion. So, what did you guys think of Gothika the first time you saw it?
I don't remember the very first time I saw it. I know I had to be 19 or 20. I remember really liking it. I remember being like, oh, wow. And, you know, not fully understanding whatever was going on. Now, some years later, a lot of years later.
A couple years later.
I enjoyed the movie.
Uh-huh.
It was very fun. I will be honest, too. Dark Castle, I confused it. I thought it was Full Moon. And I was like, oh, the Puppet Master, people made this. No, it's not. But they gave us 13 Ghosts, House of Wax, Ghost Ship.
House on Haunted Hill.
House on Haunted Hill, yes.
Let's end on a good note.
Yeah, thank you.
Best for last.
So it was like, oh, yeah, okay, I do know these people, okay. Gothika is very fun and confusing. I did have a good time yelling at the TV and like a couple of times pausing it and scratching my head. But it is. I don't want to say of its time, but it's a fun movie. I had a lot of fun watching it.
Very good.
Yes.
I will say that it is of its time. I 100% agree. It is this is a 2003 horror movie.
Yes.
If I've ever seen it in my life.
Yeah.
I will say, growing up, I think I was 12 the first time I watched this.
Mm-hmm.
It was on heavy rotation
Yes.
in our household.
Okay.
It had a hold on me and Nay in particular.
Mm-hmm.
I remember really liking it as well. I remember being legitimately scared by it.
Yeah.
And there's one moment I'll talk about later I've said this, I think, on Talk Mortem, where I was like, there's a moment in Gothika when I was 12 that I'm like, I don't think I can handle it. I do not think I can handle what they're going to do to me.
Yeah.
Next. But a part of being so young watching it, a lot of the subject matter went right over my head.
Mm-hmm.
And I did not grasp entirely what was even happening in this film.
Yeah.
And so rewatching it as a fucking, how old am I? 34?
Yeah. It's like, oh my God.
A lot. And it's very shocking. But returning to it at 34,
Mm-hmm.
there is still a lot that I do appreciate about it. I appreciate the atmosphere of this film.
Yeah.
I appreciate the tone of it even.
Mm-hmm.
The cinematography is really surprisingly good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of interesting moments with the cinematography.
Yeah, a lot of cool choices.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'll explain why we probably like it so much once we get into that a little bit later.
Okay.
But I also really like the production design.
Mm-hmm.
The location that they use for this space is really on site, kind of menacing
Yeah.
and very foreboding, and lends itself perfectly to this kind of a tale.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I think, like, aside from all that, and I have to commend the performances and the surprising cast.
Yes.
There are people that pop up that I'm like, I can't even believe that you're here.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. But all that aside, there's some logical leaps that are pretty fucking big that we got to take here while we're watching this picture.
It's a fun movie.
It's a fun movie. And narratively, I don't think that it's very satisfying. But, you know, also the pacing is wild.
Yes. Yeah.
But I think that's about all on the negative side. It doesn't work really a lot. But
a lot.
I think one thing I will say,
Yeah.
nostalgia is a hell of a drug.
Right. Right.
It's that.
And it really does play a role in my enjoyment of this film, even as an adult, knowing that there's a lot that I should not be
Yeah.
enjoying.
Right. I will start by saying I don't like either of y'all's tone. I am definitely in the camp where nostalgia is fighting for its life with this one. Like T said, we watched it a lot when we were young. This movie and a movie that I also had a hyperfixation on that I was told this morning is actually not good. A Perfect Stranger.
I think that's what it's called. It's terrible.
But that I have such a soft spot for Halle Berry, and as like a teenager, I think that that's where it started with those.
Yeah.
I was obsessed with this movie. I loved it. I thought it was so twisty, so scary, so dark. Rewatching it now, and it has been some years, that like, yeah, there's some problems.
Yeah.
I did read the screenplay because I was curious. They talked a lot about, the screenplay blew me away, da-da-da-da-da. I read it, and there are quite a few differences, and I wonder if that version, I think that version maybe would have been more satisfying.
Yeah.
But no, I'm really torn with this one because divorcing myself from the nostalgia and the like you said, T, really surprising cast. I see the issues. Okay, I see the problems with the pacing. I see the problems with one sequence or scene lasting what feels like three
Dude.
a third of the movie.
Still doing that, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
For really no good reason. Logistically, I was in here doing research when John Paul was watching it, and he's just like, well, that they wouldn't be doing that. And I'm like, well, that's not the point. Just get past it. I don't know, man. I still get enjoyment out of this. I do, though, unfortunately, see the issues that lie within the pacing, at some points the story, at some points the dialogue.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I still enjoyed it, though. I still got enjoyment out of it. when the twist came, I was a little surprised that it blindsided me so severely the first time I watched it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was like, no fucking way.
But as an adult, you're like, who else?
Yes. Yeah. No. Oh, yeah.
Who else would have? Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I don't know. I'm really excited to unpack this one because there were literally moments when I was working on the script that I was like, they're gonna fucking rip this to shreds. But I'm excited. This has been one that we've talked about doing for a very, very long time. And I'm just really excited that we're finally tackling it. Before we dig in, though, I want to very briefly, and I mean briefly, talk about production. I could not find a lot on this, and I actually found a couple conflicting things.
Oh.
But I did get information from interviews with IGN, 8 Days, Phase 9, a behind-the-scenes video, and the production notes.
Okay.
So, as we mentioned before, Gothika is Dark Castle Entertainment's fourth film. Robert Zemeckis and Joel Silver said that for the film after Ghost Ship, they wanted to go with a darker, kind of more somber tone. So when Sebastian Gutierrez's screenplay for Gothika landed on their desk, they knew that they'd found it. After fine-tuning the story, for better or for worse, and getting a talented cast on board, they still needed a director. Zemeckis and Silver decided to think outside the box. Mathieu Kassovitz had won Best Director at Cannes in '95 for La Haine. And after Silver saw a screening of his film, The Crimson Rivers, they knew that they wanted him for Gothika. In the IGN article from 2003, Kassovitz said that he met with Silver. He was immediately intrigued when he learned that it would be starring Halle Berry. He was a huge fan of hers. And after 2 days of reading the script and finding it very creepy, he, in his words, said, fuck it, and jumped on a plane to Montreal, where they were filming.
Okay.
In another interview with 8 Days in 2022, he said that he met with Joel Silver, and he was told, we already have a story, we already have the cast, you have no say in either, and you need to find a way to fit yourself into what we've got going on, because you have no say in anything.
Well, that's very different.
Very different. Plus, shooting was starting in a month and a half. But Kassovitz agreed. And I did read in an interview with Sebastian Gutierrez, who, by the way, has been with Carla Gugino since 1996.
Really?
What? Yeah. I was like, what? But he said that he was supposed to be the director until about 5 weeks before production. He said that in a Phase 9 interview.
Oh, wow.
So that kind of makes sense why they were scrambling to find a director at the last minute, found Kassovitz and was like, look, we already know what we're doing. So get in where you fit in or whatever.
Yeah.
I feel like switching midstream like that is just a recipe for...
Yeah. And Gutierrez had said he called it quote unquote creative differences with the producers. So I don't know, maybe I'm speculating obviously, but the changes to the screenplay.
Yeah.
I don't know, but he said that he dropped out about 5 weeks before production started. And that's when Kassovitz said that he was, kind of drafted in. So the timeline makes sense.
Yeah.
But also in that 8 Days interview, Kassovitz said that he regretted even directing this film, and that more to the stress of it all, there was an injury on set that we will get into later, but it halted production. And Kassovitz said that it was a miracle in disguise for him. Obviously not for the person that got hurt, but for him, because that extra time was the only way he was able to figure out how some of the scenes were going to be shot, because they had no plan.
Oh, wow.
But despite all of this, after a 45-day shoot, Gothika came out in November of 2003 to mixed reviews, but it was a financial success. And 2 years later, Dark Castle Entertainment would go on to remake House of Wax.
Mm-hmm. Oh, all right.
So continuing their streak.
Now, before we commit this film, we would like to issue a warning for spoilers. Pod Mortem is a very in-depth podcast, and in thoroughly discussing horror films, we have no choice but to spoil a thing or two. If you don't wish to be spoiled, please go watch the film, then come back and enjoy the show. If you've already seen the film or don't care about spoilers, then let's take a dip. A dark and ominous score plays over the production vanity plates and opening credits before we finally get the title, white letters against the black background, Gothika. Now, if you're anything like the three of us, you're wondering why the hell this is named Gothika. I can think of a much better title for the context of the film.
Yes.
But Joel Silver had said that the title of the film sets the atmosphere and tone for the entire story. We were talking earlier this morning as well in the production notes. They really were struggling and clamoring. They had like dictionary definitions for Gothika at the top of the for Gothic at the top of the production notes. When it's like, no, we know it's an architecture. Well,
yeah, and literature.
Yeah. It doesn't. It's just not a good title for this. It's a cool word.
Yeah.
It's a cool title.
Yeah. It's
just
a cool word for like an Evanescence like album title, but it doesn't like fit.
Yeah.
For what's here.
Yeah.
And it is funny. I did hear them talking on commentary, and Kassovitz was like talking about it, and he basically said exactly what you said about it being like a tone and atmosphere thing. But then he literally was like, and you got to call yourself fortunate to work on a script with such a good title. And then him and the cinematographer busted out laughing. So it's clear that they weren't fans of it either.
Wow.
Damn.
You remember the title though?
You
like,
do.
You do.
You do.
No, you do.
It
In the
sticks with you.
spelling, yeah. But the film begins properly with a woman's whisper, raspy and low, as she confides. He came back again last night and tore me like paper. We fade into her face. Chloe Sava, played by Penelope Cruz, continues. He opened me like a flower of pain, and she grins that it felt good. She says that he sunk into her and set her on fire like he always does. He made her burn from the inside out. So before we go any further, this is the type of subject matter that I agree with T. I did not remember being so prevalent within this film, which is shocking because of what we learn is going on later.
Yeah.
I think I just didn't register what really was going on.
I just didn't remember it starting this way at all.
Definitely not starting this way. But this is a heads up that this subject matter continues throughout the film and only gets worse. So just a heads up on that. But across the table, Miranda Gray, played by Halle Berry, is calm, and we are in tight on her face when she asks Chloe, "How did you know it was the devil?" Chloe chuckles that she knows what Miranda is thinking. She thinks that Chloe is talking about her stepfather because Miranda doesn't believe in the devil. Miranda takes this opportunity to invite Chloe to talk about her stepfather, but Chloe reminds her that she already knows about her stepfather. She cut his throat. We glide, watching the women through chain link as they sit across from each other at the table, and Chloe gives the details. She cut his Adam's apple in half, like a piece of fruit on a summer's day, so that he wouldn't say a word. Then she sat next to him and watched him die slowly. Chloe takes a deep breath before reasoning that it was the only way to make him stop. Miranda asks her, "Stop what?" And Chloe's tenuous calm breaks as she slams her hands down on the table and shouts, "Stop fucking me." Miranda takes this very intense moment to feverishly jot something down on her notepad.
Yeah, that was a little detached.
Yeah.
I was like, what are you doing, dude?
Yeah.
Her voice calm again, Chloe realizes, "You're not listening." But Miranda asserts that she is. Slapping her chest, Chloe counters that she's not listening with her heart, though, just her brain. And Miranda's brain is the problem because she has no idea how it feels to not be trusted. Miranda points out that Chloe needs to trust her too, but with tears running down her face, Chloe puts it simply, "You can't trust someone who thinks you're crazy." Miranda briefly lowers her eyes before deciding that that's enough for today. She starts to pack up her things, offering that she thinks they made some really good headway and found out some new things. She stands, but Chloe grips onto her arms with both hands. She rises and leans into Miranda, asking desperately if she knows what it is to burn from the inside. She growls that Miranda doesn't know because she is dead. A guard immediately takes notice and rushes in, pulling Chloe away from Miranda. Chloe protests that she wasn't touching her, but the guards escort her out of the cell, kicking and screaming. Nurse Irene, played by Bronwyn Mantle, shoots Miranda a look before following behind them, and Miranda just seems unbothered. She gathers her things and starts down a row of cage-like cells, passing through when a guard opens the door for her.
So I had several thoughts coming out of this scene. Firstly, I did not remember the writing and the performances being this good.
Yeah, I totally agree. The performances here are great, and already I know that Halle Berry's our lead. I'm like not in love with her.
That's the thing.
Like after this scene, I think she does a really poor job of talking and empathizing with this patient.
Whenever I got to the end of this and she was like, oh, I think we made some good headway or whatever, it's like, you're not listening to anything she's saying. And that's when I was like, I don't know if you're shitty at your job, if you're burned out, if you're disillusioned or what, but you're not giving this patient what she needs.
Yeah, but I think that's kind of what I had took out of it anyway, was that we need you to listen to me. And she's just like, oh, nobody here does that.
Yeah.
And even her.
Yeah.
So it was the same way. I didn't remember opening with this seriousness, and it was just like, damn, but they do such a good job. I was like, okay, you're setting us up for what's fixing to happen.
You're in immediately. And I understand narratively later on why she needs to kind of be cold.
Yes.
But it was jarring to see her say, well, you can't trust somebody who doesn't believe you. And she's like, well, that's our time.
Yeah.
I was just like, what the hell? She kind of just opened up in a fucking major way.
Yeah.
But yeah. Well, yeah. Just a little disappointed with Miranda.
Yeah. Penelope Cruz. Everybody knows who Penelope Cruz is.
Yeah.
She was a Vanilla Sky in 2001, Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides in 2011, Sahara in 2005, Blow in 2001. Like, we know who she is. And Halle Berry, there's a whole song about her. I mean, Swordfish, Catwoman, Die Another Day, Monsters Ball. She was Storm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Storm.
Enough said.
Yeah.
In one of those interviews, she said that Joel Silver had sent her the script and she was extremely impressed with it. She said that her mother was an inspiration and a good resource for her because her mom was a psych ward nurse for 35 years.
Wow.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. And she also said that she had a supernatural experience when she was doing the film introducing Dorothy Dandridge. She had been given one of Dorothy Dandridge's gowns and she had it kept under like plastic, like protective plastic in her living room. And she said the plastic would flutter and move on its own and that she felt Dorothy Dandridge's presence during filming.
Okay.
All right.
So she was very much down to explore kind of all aspects of what Gothika is.
I think that even though the material is not great all the time, Halle Berry gives everything she has.
Yeah.
And there are some real moments of just like, God damn, you're a great actor.
Yeah.
But when Miranda steps out into the hallway, Chloe is still screaming and fighting the guards out of focus behind her. But Miranda doesn't break her stride or look back. She continues when Chloe finally pulls free from the guards and begins to walk on her own, swishing her hips in mockery of Miranda's confident stride, mimicking, "I'm a doctor, open this door."
She cooked your ass. That was great work, Chloe.
Irene opens the door to her cell, and before Chloe is forced inside, she repeats herself in a screech to Miranda's retreating form. "Hey, you are dead!" The guards finally force her inside and lock the door behind her, muttering that she's nuts. Compassion. Miranda keeps walking past orderlies in their uniforms, and the guards smile politely at her as they open a series of doors, closing them back behind her when she passes. We follow Miranda as she goes past one more door, and when this guard closes it behind her, we float up to the sign above it. "You are now leaving main prison." Mellow music plays and the credits finish as Miranda continues her journey, her heels clacking on the line marked in the center of the floor. We follow her for an inordinately
Yes.
Yeah, that was unnecessary.
It's a long journey, I guess. Getting those steps in.
Yeah.
Gotta think positively.
I will say, too, her name is Miranda, and I've been torturing John Paul all week by doing the Steve Brady Miranda from Sex and the City.
Of course.
I'm going to try not to do that today.
Well, you've already done it, so.
I had to get it out of my system. But finally, Miranda reaches her destination. She opens the door to an office and pokes her head in. Phil Parsons, played by Bernard Hill, sits working at his desk, but at the sight of Miranda, he deflates. She offers a quick apology before informing that she needs to cross-reference some files with him on Monday. She follows it up with asking how his schedule is, but he just tells her to check with Anna and she'll fit Miranda in. Miranda offers another quick sorry before leaving and closing the door behind her.
Bernard Hill. This man was in Lord of the Rings 2 and 3.
Uh-huh.
Ah,
He was also in Titanic and The Scorpion King.
no shit.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie, when she opened that door, I thought that was damn Lord Davos.
Dude, me too. I was like, I didn't know you were in this.
I was so excited.
That's not the voice I recall.
No.
That's not him. But Miranda approaches another office, but we watch her as she pauses, peering through the cutout logo in the frosted glass door. Inside, we pan down a wall of photos with very prestigious people to find Dr. Douglas Gray, played by Charles S. Dutton.
We talked about this man briefly on Cat's Eye.
Ah,
Also
did.
on PMTV
We sure did.
over on our Patreon.
absolutely. For as little as $3 a month.
Yes.
But he sits behind his desk on the phone, emphatic that he is not discharging her, period. And if the person on the other end wants to pursue this, he needs to have a judge order the transfer. He adds, until then, she's mine. He offers a cold thank you before hanging up the phone.
Not to tip hands or anything. Did not like the use of that phrase.
Yeah, there's also something else he says in a minute that I was like, that's a weird thing.
Yeah.
Miranda has let herself in, and Douglas's demeanor shifts when he sees her. He closes his laptop and invites her to come in. Miranda sits across the desk, reporting that Chloe is embellishing her rape story again. She's saying that the devil is visiting her in her cell. Doug offers a measured, okay. Miranda continues that it's the third time in 3 months. She thinks it has something to do with her stepfather. Really, Miranda? They describe her as brilliant. Even in the screenplay, she's a brilliant doctor.
Described.
Yeah.
Described as. Frankly, I'm not seeing it.
No.
Yeah.
I have to say, from the opening, it seemed like Chloe, what she was sharing, it almost seemed like a traumatic dream.
Yeah.
A memory of something that did happen.
Yeah.
Right.
Or the history of her and her stepfather and what prompted her to kill him.
Yes.
Yeah.
When she says in this scene, she said someone's visiting her in her cell,
Yeah.
we're not going to do any
No,
look
she's
into
like,
that,
oh,
or-
Chloe.
Yeah.
Chloe's gonna Chloe. Like, it's all very dismissive, very. But I think, honestly, that is the commentary. That's a huge point of the film.
In a way, yeah. But it's just a very disturbing thing for a what would you say, brilliant doctor
Brilliant.
to
Yes.
not latch on to.
Mhm.
Brilliant but lazy.
I
Brilliant
guess.
but lazy. At best. Chloe could be feeling remorse, but instead of assessing and accepting the memory, she falls into satanic meanderings. Doug advises her to just give it time, but Miranda counters that she has time and multiple medications. Maybe the patients are just too medicated. Doug stands up and goes to the mirror to check his reflection, while Miranda allows that we all create our own realities to an extent, but what Chloe creates is so far from any objective reality. Adjusting his tie, Doug adds dryly that Chloe's mind only runs on one track, but Miranda says that right now her mind is running on empty.
You mentioned him adjusting his tie, and in this scene, I was taking note of his shiny, shiny vest. And I was like, that's an interesting choice, costume-wise.
Yeah.
And then later on in the film, you realize why they made his outfit such a prominent and standout thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can add like time and proximity to things.
Right.
Yeah.
Doug turns and offers her a smile before beckoning her over. He pours and hands her a drink, and she stands in the mirror with him. He tells her that she has a brilliant mind. She'll figure it out. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Miranda takes the glass with a weak smile, but when Doug instructs her to throw it on the mirror, she does. The liquid runs down, distorting and warping her reflection in the glass. Doug explains that this is what Chloe sees now. Miranda supplies a distorted image of herself. Doug asks, who is Miranda in all of this? And Miranda answers, I'm the mirror. Doug tells her that she's right, and Miranda pieces together, if I'm the mirror and Chloe's the image, she turns face to face and close to Doug when she asks, then who are you? Doug reasons that he can see both of them, so he's God.
Don't like that.
Don't love it.
Calm down.
Miranda chuckles at this, but Doug adds that maybe he's just an overworked hospital bureaucrat. Miranda rebuts, God is good. Doug takes her face in both of his hands and tells her to always remember the ability to repress is actually a vital survival tool, and without it, Chloe might not have survived. Thunder booms outside as Doug leans in and kisses Miranda. The two continue to kiss passionately until the door opens and Dr. Pete Graham, played by Robert Downey Jr., enters, quipping, sorry, am I interrupting the happy couple?
There's a lot going on right now.
Yeah.
Just, the smallest of which I have to set aside very quickly is just thinking of the poor custodians who have to clean that fucking mirror.
Yeah, because you know he's not going to.
No,
He's God.
God isn't clean. Like he gave another fucking pep talk, I guess. He always does this. But I was surprised that she is his wife.
Yes.
I saw at least a 20-year age gap. We're not getting into age gaps or anything.
No, but you're correct.
But I was like, this is surprising to me. And then Robert Downey Jr. shows up.
Yeah.
There's a lot happening.
Our heads are
It's very
spinning.
weird.
Robert Downey Jr. shows up being very Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
Very much, very much.
And we did talk about him a little bit in Zodiac.
We
did.
did.
He's, kind of a legend.
He's Iron Man.
Yeah. Interesting, though, us talking about him being Robert Downey Jr., he said in the production notes that he credited Kassovitz with the direction that they took Pete. He had planned to play him looking and acting much more conservatively, but Kassovitz messed up his hair, gave him a t-shirt, and said, no, Pete needs to be like you. So that's how he played him.
I get that because then we get this clear delineation
Yeah.
between him and Doug.
Yeah. I thought that this was interesting too. In that IGN interview, I think I said from 2003 when this came out, he said that the day before he had set Warner Brothers record by doing 80 of the interviews in one day.
Good Lord.
Oh, wow.
For Gothika.
Damn.
Yeah. Which I can't imagine. But a little fun fact, something interesting about his casting as well. There was another producer on this film, Susan Levin. And from what I read, she's the one that facilitated the meeting between Joel Silver and Mathieu Kassovitz.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, you probably know her better by her married name, Susan Downey.
Oh, wow.
They met during production and they were engaged before Gothika even came out. And they're still together.
That's beautiful.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do want to just go back for a second to the interview thing that you said, because that's a staggering amount of interviews.
Yeah.
I always watch those press junkets, and it's always like, I can't even imagine sitting there and they're like, hey, what was the most fun moment on set? And you're like, I never got that question before. I've never been asked that in my life.
I've answered that 45 times today. Because, we got to watch a lot of shit when we're trying to research. I'm Sean Connery. We're trying to research the films, and you see so many of them, and I'm like, oh my God, they're wearing the same clothes.
Yeah.
That's what I always think.
Yeah.
This
It's
is the
unbelievable.
same day. Like that.
Man.
Yeah.
It's an assembly line.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But it's like, can't you guys just pass it along?
Yeah, dude.
Doug greets Pete with no enthusiasm and heads back to his desk, explaining that they were just discussing repression as a survival mechanism. Pete understands, shuddering. He had a date last week that he barely survived, and he's trying to forget it. It's like, Pete, you're a character. But Doug is pulling on his coat, lamenting sarcastically that while he's sure that that's fascinating, he's on his way out. Pete starts to excuse himself, but Doug tells him that there's no need. He gives Miranda a quick kiss, informing her that he's going to run out to Willow Creek for a few hours to meet a new contractor. Miranda replies that she'll be here and that she'll see him at dinner. Doug pauses in the doorway and tells Pete to keep an eye on his wife for him. Pete assures him that he knows he will. Doug presents him with a cigar, and before Pete can politely refuse it, Doug offers to circumcise it for him, snipping off the tip before sliding it into Pete's shirt pocket. He advises the doctor to smoke it tonight while it's still fresh, and Pete's strained smile doesn't break until Doug walks away. Pete calls out, "Good night, boss," and Doug replies, "Good night, kids."
This is a dangerous game you're playing.
It is. Unapologetically.
Yeah. And it's so weird because even Doug was like, I know you will keep an eye on her.
Yeah.
What the hell? So is this just like the worst kept secret in the world?
It felt very weird.
Yeah.
It was very weird.
Kids?
Yeah. It was that. Like, so do you know that something's going on and you don't care? Do you?
Oh, well, he's God. I think that he's like, yeah, you can like have a thing for my wife all you want, but like she's got me. So what the fuck would she want with you? Like, that's the air that I get.
Okay.
Which is like, Robert Downey Jr. But Pete has already turned his attention to a grinning Miranda, suggesting that they share one of those golden crust cheese-filled specials. He boasts that they're cheesy and crusty. And while Miranda says that it does sound like a great offer, she's got work to do. She strides past him, but Pete tries again. He's buying. Miranda counters that it'll be cold when it gets here, and Pete concedes that they can warm it up. It's like, dude, he's trying.
Yeah.
And his logic is...
He's like, there's microwaves all over this place. Miranda is still walking away, throwing up another roadblock. I hate pizza. Pete is like, who doesn't like pizza? He reasons that she's got to eat, but Miranda giggles. Not with you. Left behind in the hallway, Pete closes the door and points out that they're supposed to be celebrating. He just got circumcised. Which is very funny. But here I'd normally be like, dude, leave her the fuck alone. But the energy between them.
It's not one-sided.
It's not. It's very encouraging to the point in this scene I was like, what is going on?
Really?
A little bit.
I did not get that at all.
I felt like at the very least she liked the flirtatiousness.
Okay, but I took it more as like, again, he's trying and she, again, yes, it's cute, but keep trying.
Like that, yeah. It's not happening. Yeah. Maybe more of that, but definitely that she enjoyed the dynamic.
Right,
also.
right.
So that was one thing where I was really interested in hopefully the film elaborating on their relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There is a scene later where there is kind of a discussion, but I was like, well, did she date him previously? Then they broke up and then she got with Doug? Or like, what's the story here, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think so.
All right, then.
Yeah.
You said that it's a little different in the screenplay?
It is, yeah. There's a scene that you were kind of alluding to. We can unpack it there.
Okay.
Miranda is back downstairs talking to a nurse. When the nurse, played by Anna Rydvald, informs her that Shelley is there for observation, Miranda is surprised. She asks what happened and is informed that Shelley had another attack. Miranda asks if she upped her meds, and the nurse says that they did, 25 milligrams. Miranda looks worryingly at the papers the nurse is presenting her with before deciding that that's extreme. The dose is just way too high. This is the second time that she's been like, I think they're over-medicated. Mm-hmm. And I obviously, maybe we don't fully get time to explore that, but I think that is an interesting thing to remember going forward.
Yeah.
She starts to walk off, informing the nurse that she wants a copy of that on her desk by Monday morning. The nurse agrees, looking over the paperwork herself. But we glide through the wall and into the next hallway where Miranda enters her office, closing the door in our face, its nameplate boasting, Dr. Miranda Gray.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about the production design very quickly.
Okay.
Because we do spend a decent amount of time navigating this space in the opening of the film.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of put into the mind, like we talked about a long time ago, about James Wan and kind of establishing this geography. And I feel like they are attempting to do that here in a way so that we do understand, you know, when a sequence later goes on for about 45 minutes, where things are in proximity to each other. But the production designer was a guy called Graham Grace Walker, and we have talked about him a few times before on the show because he was the production designer of Ghost Ship. He was the production designer of House of Wax.
Mm-hmm.
And with a surname like Walker, it is no surprise that he did 80 episodes of The Walking Dead.
God damn.
Oh, wow.
But again, whatever we said about Ghost Ship and House of Wax, the production design was on fucking point.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They built a whole town
Yeah.
for House of Wax, and Ghost Ship,
It was cool as hell.
Yes,
Yeah.
we'll give him that. But this prison / psychiatric facility, it is a combination of a very real location and a bunch of sets.
Okay.
And so I was very impressed by how connected it all feels. There is a delineation that Walker set very clearly between different parts of this place.
Yeah.
Where you're like, okay, well, the prison section and the section where the patients are feels way different from the administration where Doug is.
Mm-hmm.
Feels way different from the corridors and the hallways that she walks through. Feels way different from the staff offices that her and Pete have.
Yeah.
And so there are these very separate feeling locations, but all still somehow capturing the same tone.
Yeah.
Feeling like they're a part of the same world, but also three completely different worlds. But the very real location that they used was the St. Vincent de Paul prison, which was an abandoned maximum security prison in Laval, Quebec, Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And originally, it was going to be just completely sets. But the producers showed this location to Kassovitz, and they had told him initially, there was a lot of films that were made here. They had mentioned a Spielberg film. I can't remember if it was Catch Me If You Can, but was filmed here.
Oh.
Partially. And so Kassovitz initially, he was like, well, if like 80 productions have used it or whatever, I don't want to use this.
Right.
And then everybody's like, oh, that's the prison from blank or whatever.
Right.
But then he goes there and he's like, I don't even recognize this anywhere. And so he's like, if I don't recognize it.
True. Yeah. Nobody else is
Yeah.
gonna. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's kind of what they did. And they made it to where the use of these different sets and this very real location, it does become its own reality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
To where you're not comparing it to the other things you maybe have seen it in. But after he decided that he actually liked it and fell in love with this location, the plans for the film were obviously augmented to accommodate for more use of this.
Right.
And part of what you were saying as far as things being changed from the script, they changed things from the script intentionally to use different parts of this location more.
Okay.
But it is very interesting to me because they had said that even in this scene of her walking, there's a part where the end of the hall is a green screen. And they just put in digitally a connection from another set to make it all seem more interconnected.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
'Cause at no point are you taken out of the location at all.
No. And they had broken down in the production notes the different places that were actual real life places.
Okay.
And sets built for the production. And so there are hallways and cell blocks, the atrium and the common area that we're going to see a little bit later, as well as the exercise yard. That is the prison.
Okay.
But there are other hallways. There is the admin office where we were just with Doug. There's a shower room that we'll see a little bit later. The glass cells that we'll eventually discover. All of those are sets.
That's really
Yeah.
impressive because it does feel very cohesive.
Yes.
It does.
A storm rages outside, casting a bright glow into her office with a strike of lightning as Miranda sits at her desk looking through her books. The thunder rumbles as she types into her state-of-the-art computer. The presence of psychotic features reflects severe disease and is a poor prognostic indicator. The psychotic symptoms themselves are often categorized as either mood in harmony with the mood disorder. I deserve to be punished because I am so bad. Although mood disorder patients with mood congruent psychosis have a psychotic type of mood disorder patients, her fingers fly over the keyboard and uneasy music mounts as the storm continues to rage. Miranda continues to type, to read, to jot down notes. But suddenly, with an extra loud crack of thunder, the power goes out. Miranda mutters about the damn generator, lamenting, "Not again."
Is there a reason why my office is the scariest place in the building?
Yeah.
Because we were just in this like lavish looking.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you've seen how many hallways and doors we had
That's
to go
true.
through to get here.
Yeah. It's like the catacombs.
Yeah.
This is the dungeon. I don't know what you were expecting.
Mm-hmm.
But she goes out into the dark hallway. She has to raise her hand to shield herself from the beam of an approaching flashlight. Miranda calls out, asking if it's Irene, and the lights above suddenly come on, revealing that it is. Irene cautions that this electrical system is going to give them trouble, and Miranda agrees. This is the 4th time this week. She tells the nurse that she's going to go for her swim, and Irene replies that she's going to do her job as long as the damn lights stay on. Now, I don't know why Irene felt it necessary or appropriate to be scary as hell with this flashlight.
I thought this was maybe setting up a potential scare in the future.
Yeah.
Okay.
To where, okay, well, it's Irene this time.
Yeah.
But we never come back to it because that was frightening.
It was.
I thought this time it was like, oh, that's Chloe or something that's
Yeah.
got this. She's escaped or
Something,
right.
yeah.
anything.
Why wouldn't you be like, yeah, it's me? Like, bitch, talk. It's pitch black down here. As promised, we watch Miranda as she swims in the pool, goggles over her eyes, and streams of bubbles ejecting from her nostrils as she goes back and forth, kicking off the walls, propelling herself back the way she came. Her paddling arms send water into the air underneath the flickering lights of the dark pool room.
I don't know how safe this is. Like, I know the power went out, and we already heard it's the 4th time, whatever. And so the power isn't, you know what I mean? It's not going to stay on.
Right.
We already know it's going to go off. I'm alone. I've got no way to call for help. I've got no kind of walkie-talkie. I'm just swimming on my own in this penitentiary with no electricity.
No.
Right.
My thing is exactly that. And also the biggest thing for me is like, you don't have a fucking membership at the Y?
Yeah.
Like-
yeah. No shit.
You're a doctor or whatever. Like, I don't understand why you're using these facilities like this because I don't think that's what they're meant to be used
Yeah.
It is not clear.
for. Like, yeah, swim, blow off some steam or whatever.
Yeah.
But do that at your own
Yeah.
place?
You need to get an acre, a farm,
Uh-huh.
put a random pool in the back. We learned this last
We
week.
Yeah.
did. You can just do that.
But she finally stops, rising from the water and leaning on the ledge to catch her breath. Her pants mingle with the incessant thunder and the lightning flashes against her wet face. Afterwards, she steps out into the lobby wearing comfortable clothes, her wet hair pulled back. The security guard, Joe, played by Michelle Perrin, asks how many laps, and she smiles. 55, but who's counting? Joe congratulates her. She's outdone herself. He tells her to drive safe, and she tells him to say hi to his wife for her. Joe says that he will, but as Miranda fades from view, he turns to the TV on his desk and laughs at something on the screen.
Michelle Perrin, I did see that he has a credit on Battlefield Earth from 2000.
Oh.
That has John Travolta in it.
It sure does. There's a lot about that film that we could say. And there would probably be litigation. But if I'm not mistaken, that film was also filmed at this hospital. There were some portions.
That's crazy.
Does he just live here?
Maybe. I don't know.
He came with it.
Yes.
Miranda goes outside, sheltered from the pouring rain under the awning, and we pan out to see the sign for the facility, Woodward Penitentiary Psychiatric and Correctional Facility for Women. Miranda pulls on a jacket, readying herself for the wet journey ahead, but she's startled when someone comes out behind her and loudly opens a black umbrella. She turns with a gasp, but it's just Pete. He shelters them both, quipping, "All that education, but you can't remember an umbrella." Miranda just accepts this, walking with him under it, but she asks if he got her note. He says that he did, her business note. Miranda changes the subject, asking how was his date with, when Pete supplies what's her name, Miranda repeats it. But Pete says that it's just like all his other dates. It was brief and pointless. She didn't respond to his endearing sense of humor or his boyish good looks. So he started talking about work, which she deemed inappropriate for a first date. He says that was it. It was just drinks. They didn't even have dinner. They reach Miranda's car, and he continues to hold the umbrella over her as she opens the door. He surmises that she just wasn't right. When you know, you know, you know? And Miranda says that she does know as she sinks down into her seat. Pete offers that he'll follow her down the hill, but she tells him that he doesn't have to. Pete reminds her, though, that he's supposed to keep an eye on her, boss's orders. But as Miranda closes the door, she wonders with a smile, and since when did you ever listen to the boss? Pete eyes her for a moment before hurrying away. Miranda pulls out of her spot, but Pete was parked right next to her, and he follows.
They're very playful.
They are.
Yeah. But, for a second, I was like, I don't know how to feel about that.
Yes.
Are you following her?
That is also not. And then we're setting up some stuff.
Yeah. Well, because he's like, I'll follow you down the hill. It's okay. And then she pulls off and he's like, I'm like hurrying to get to
Has
his
to
car.
run.
It doesn't look good.
No, it doesn't look good at all. I will say the building in the background, it certainly looks like a real dark castle.
It does. It
All
does.
right, I'll see you guys next week.
He just leaves.
Yeah.
They both drive past the sign for Woodward Penitentiary, and we pan up, showing the massive building standing tall among the trees that surround it. Miranda's windshield wipers are working overtime against the pouring rain, but her eyes flit up to the rearview mirror. She offers a little wave to Pete before turning left. Pete honks his horn in acknowledgement, but he continues straight.
So that's all right.
Yeah, thank God.
Yes. This is good. This is good.
Can all breathe a sigh of relief?
Yeah.
Miranda switches on the radio, where a reporter informs her of severe showers all over northern Connecticut and New Hampshire. Miranda jokes that she sees that, and as the radio continues to warn of flooding, she spots a roadblock. Multiple police cars are blocking off her way home, their warning lights cutting through the sheets of rain. Still, Miranda pulls up to it, where she's told regrettably by an officer that he can't let her through because of a sinkhole. But Sheriff Bob Ryan, played by John Carroll Lynch, comes over, dismissing him.
Once again, this cast,
Yes!
completely flabbergasted.
Yeah. And we talked about him in Zodiac.
Yeah.
We did.
It's a reunion of sorts.
And
Yes.
The Invitation.
That's right.
He is incredible. I think he is such an underrated actor.
Yes.
He's kind of frighteningly versatile.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you're like, is this the nicest guy on the planet, or is he about to kill me right now?
Yes. With his bare hands.
It's one or the other.
Oh, we also talked about him on Shutter Island.
Oh, shit.
You're right. God damn.
Yeah.
He's busy.
Rain dripping from the brim of his hat, he points out, well, you picked a hell of a night for a drive, Miranda. Miranda laughs and greets him, but he doubles down that there's a sinkhole and she can't get through. Miranda asks what she should do, and he tells her that a quarter-mile back down the road, she can take a left at that bridge that he and Doug fish at, the little white one. She can go across there.
We are friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just want to make sure I establish that in this scene right now.
Well, just in case you missed that, Miranda thanks him, and before Sheriff Ryan departs, he asks her to tell Doug to give him a call. And Miranda says she will.
Yeah.
Friends. But yeah, I thought that this was a very interesting way to go about it. Because, again, there are so many moments I feel like it almost seems like Miranda, this is her first day here.
Yeah.
Like, because there's stuff that comes up later. It's like, how the fuck would you not know that or not be a part of that? Like, you know what I mean?
It's that, and like I feel like again here, I'll remember this little white bridge.
Yeah.
Why I don't know, but I mean I will. You said it funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's like almost like something's going to happen.
Yeah.
But Miranda follows instruction, going back the way she came and heading toward a bridge as she makes a call. When Doug picks up, she realizes that he's home. Doug asks where she is, and she explains that she was detoured, but she'll be home in a few minutes. She asks, how was Willow Creek? Doug's voice is breaking up when he replies that the rain is slowing the work down and it's a big mess. Miranda drives onto the bridge, and Doug's voice becomes a mess, garbled and unintelligible. She calls out to him, but he doesn't answer. Miranda finally exits the other side of the bridge, but she screams when she spots something in the road. A woman in a white gown standing right in the middle of the road, motionless, her blonde hair plastered flat, her arms wrapped around herself. Miranda veers off the road to miss her, and even though she goes right past, the woman doesn't move an inch. Miranda's car crashes into a ditch and everything goes black.
Just a couple things. Not at all surprised to see this girl in the road. That was clearly a haunted bridge that we just
Yeah.
left.
Anybody could have seen that.
And I just want to point out, it is a little nitpicky, but I don't know if the sound designer took a day off or something, but that was the least impactful crash in the history of cinema.
Yeah.
It was very gentle.
Like
It was.
like the ditch is soft. It's very rainy.
It goes to show how important sound design is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because when she goes off the road, I never thought that she was in any danger or that she was hurt.
No.
Yeah.
Because it is such like a soft landing. There is no crunch. It's just like, oh, she'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, no damage on the car either.
I thought because it happens pretty quick.
Yeah.
I was like, is that a Silent Hill monster?
Oh.
Right.
Something
Right.
was there. And it is that. It's, oh, fuck, I hit my bumper. Let me get out and check it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, you're going to get got by whatever you just swerved off the road to miss.
Yeah.
You mentioning Silent Hill, do you think that this visual and this sight is an influence on the witch from Left 4 Dead?
Oh my God.
Huh.
I can totally see
Okay.
that. And look, I have a theory that this influenced another video game that a beloved video game.
Yes.
But we'll talk about it in a little bit. I was piecing the pieces together, and
what you do?
losing. Yeah, that's what you do with pieces. Losing my fucking mind. I had to text you immediately.
Okay.
But when she is able to get out of the car, Miranda is stumbling and limping, but she makes her way back to the road. The woman is still standing there, and Miranda shouts over the storm, asking if she's okay. But the blonde, played by Kathleen Mackey, just stands there, shivering from the cold with her head lowered. Miranda approaches her on unsteady legs, and when she finally goes around to get in front of her, she lets out a breathless, "Oh my God." In the illuminating flashes of lightning, we see that the girl's face is bruised and there are slashes on her chest and arms, and she does look young.
Yeah.
Yes.
Miranda reaches for her, but the girl raises shaking hands in protest. Miranda assures her that she's a doctor and she's going to get her to a hospital. We circle them as she pulls off her jacket and goes to put it around the girl's bare shoulders. But the blonde is sobbing now. She's shaking, and when Miranda gets closer, she lets out a wail as she bursts into flames. She presses her flaming hands on either side of Miranda's face, and Miranda's head lights like a match, the flames igniting and engulfing. They are both screaming when it cuts to black.
I was shocked at first when it was this fiery imagery,
Mm-hmm.
but then I thought about it and I was like, that's exactly what Chloe had said.
It is, and it is reflected in other ways later, too.
Yeah.
But Miranda wakes up with a loud gasp, bathed in sweat. A light above her crackles and flickers as it fights to stay on. She stands, her face stricken and horrified as she reaches out to us. We back away, taking in the hospital gown she wears, the red band around her wrist. But she continues to reach out and touch the glass of the cell that she's in. We continue to back away down the hall while Miranda bangs on the glass desperately, screaming for someone to help her. We glide away through another locked glass door that informs us. Observation cells.
So this is a shocking turn of events.
Mm-hmm.
And so fast.
Yes.
This movie just started.
Yeah.
I think I will say that's one thing I did like, this jarring shift, because now it's a mystery.
Right.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. I think that it comes later where I'm like, okay, the pacing is starting to be a little strange. But right here, very quickly, I wanted to talk about the cinematographer.
Okay.
And this name should sound very familiar because we just talked about this man, Mathieu Kassovitz.
Yes, we did.
He shot Black Swan,
Okay.
also shot this film. And it was actually his work with Aronofsky previously that inspired Kassovitz to enlist him.
Oh.
Very nice.
but this was the first shot that they talked about during pre-production. And it is so interesting the way that it's done because to me, on site, you're like, oh, this is a digital thing.
Yeah.
But it's not completely. What they did is they have the camera on a track, and the camera is attached to a 4x4 plane of glass. And so as it's pulling back, it locks in, and it allows Halle Berry to physically touch it.
That's wild.
And then digitally, they add glass on top and below and reflections so that it does appear to be this very full wall of glass.
That is so cool.
That's cool.
And Gothika talked about wanting to make the movements of the camera feel like a ghost.
Right.
And I think several times in this film does he accomplish this.
For sure.
And this being one of them.
Yeah. We glide behind the cells and watch a patient get up and knock on the glass, calling out for Dr. Graham as Pete walks by, but he's going straight to Miranda's cell. Miranda is yelling at Irene, demanding to know why she's in here, but Irene just turns to report to Pete that Miranda woke up wild. To illustrate this, Miranda throws something that clangs against the door, and she kicks the wall of her cell, ordering Irene to bring her ass back in here. Pete leans into Irene and tells her to give him 40 milligrams of Ativan before turning to Miranda and snapping at her to stay in the cell. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, this is a turn.
Yes. He tells the waiting orderly to restrain her. He tries to, but Miranda is pushing and kicking him when he backs her up against the wall. Pete joins them, and suddenly Miranda is able to be restrained. She cries as the orderly lowers her to her bunk, and Pete thanks Irene. The group gathered at the door leaves Pete behind, locking the door to Miranda's cell on their way out. Alone now, Pete lowers his eyes and busies his hands by fiddling with his glasses. He admits that this is very awkward. Technically, he shouldn't even be treating her, but they got the court to grant them a waiver until they're transferred.
That's convenient.
Yeah.
This is one of the things I'm like, there's no fucking way.
No!
Yeah.
He assures her that anything they discuss is in confidence and won't leave this room. He lowers himself to a squat and looks directly at Miranda sitting on her bunk. She asks him how long she's been in here, and he tells her 3 days. Miranda shakes her head in disbelief, asking sincerely, why? Pete explains that she was admitted to the neurological unit because she was seizing violently. The scans they did revealed left-sided weakness, numbness, and severe frontal lobe deficits. They gave her haloperidol and Ativan injections, and when they tested her again, she was negative for PCP, but she was put in restraints for a day and a half so she wouldn't injure herself, and then she went into a catatonic state. Miranda stares at him as he admits that this is the first time he's seen her lucid. Eyes brimming with tears, Miranda says that she wants to see her husband. She asks where he is, but instead of answering, Pete rises to his feet and goes over to her side of the cell. He shares that Miranda is the most logical person he knows, bar none. She relies only on the facts. So why is he telling her this? Miranda turns to him on her bed, and Pete sits down on the other end. She answers him, "You're establishing my personality. You think I'm a rational person." He doesn't think she's impulsive or emotional. We press in on them as Pete agrees that following this pattern of analysis, they are about to discuss a traumatic event that, and they say together, which has rendered this psychological profile useless. Pete tells her that that's correct, but Miranda realizes that he thinks she's in denial. Pete warns her against analyzing herself and instead to just focus on remembering. We close in on Miranda as she tries, and Pete prompts, "Miranda, what is the last thing you remember?" Just like we are close on her face, we get a flash of Chloe's, her eyes rolling back as she sighs. And Miranda tells Pete, "I remember Chloe. She was having her Friday night session with Chloe."
I just want to call out how much I really love the camera work in this section.
Yeah.
Because they talked about on commentary of dealing with such a small space as this cell.
Yeah.
And sometimes they were able to move walls out and get different shots or whatever. But other times they literally just use the confines of this space and they have this creeping shot from the floor. Then they have this head-on shot where the actors are speaking down lens.
Yeah.
And it's adding this like dynamic kind of claustrophobic feeling to this moment for Miranda.
Yeah.
And this being this one-on-one thing between these two characters. I feel like the performances and the camera work really elevate some not so great material because that dialogue before did not hit for me with them like basically being like a psychology textbook to each other.
But it's all very surface. You know what I mean? Like, I know you can't get too technical because you'll lose the audience, but I feel like what they're saying as two doctors speaking to each other is very like surface, very simple, very like, I don't know. It was just, I appreciate the way that they're going back and forth.
Yes.
Right.
But you're right. The lines themselves are a little, okay. But Pete asks how that session went, and we cut back to Chloe screaming and grasping at Miranda at the table. Miranda strutting away unbothered as a guard carries Chloe down the hall. In the cell now, Miranda recalls that Chloe was embellishing her rape story. She remembers kissing Doug in his office, Pete standing with his coffee cup in the doorway. She tells Pete that she saw Doug and Pete was there. Pete nods slightly. Miranda remembers typing away in her office and reports that she worked on Chloe's file. We see a beam of light approaching her in the hallway, but the lights come on and it's just Irene. Scary ass Irene.
Come on, Irene.
Miranda says now that she called it quits and went down to the pool. We see her swimming and it's coming back faster for her now. She swam 55 laps. She saw Joe. She got her keys. She went to her car. Pete walked her there. Pete affirms this, but Miranda starts to struggle. She remembers the detour, and we see Sheriff Ryan greeting her warmly in the pouring rain. She remembers that she had to go over the bridge, and we see this. She exits the other side, but that's all. Pete asks her what else happened. He implores her to try to remember. So Miranda does. She got home.
That shocked the hell out of me.
Yeah.
Yes.
I thought it was going to be, we get to the bridge, don't remember anything.
I was like, what?
Yeah, to myself, I was like, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I was like, we didn't see that.
No.
But again,
Well, it's hard to imagine what we saw and then her just going home.
yeah.
Like, it's like, I don't think that that's really what happened.
But your car was demolished.
We all heard it land softly in the shrubs. The gate to her lavish home creaks as she pushes it open. She remembers seeing Doug on the couch. He leans back as she described, relaxing with a drink in one hand and a cigar in his mouth, the smoke curling up toward the ceiling. Miranda shakes her head, her eyes darting as she tries to think of the next thing that happened. Pete again tells her to try to remember. And suddenly we are exiting that bridge again, and the headlights of the car illuminate a woman, her white gown transparent and clinging in the rain, her arms wrapped around herself, her blonde hair a flat curtain. She screams, and Miranda drives into the ditch, landing softly. She remembers now, and she tells Pete, there was a girl. Pete denies this, but Miranda is adamant. She stands and points at Pete, repeating that there was a girl at the bridge. Pete tries to counter that there was no reports of this, but she is positive that there was some kind of accident. There had to be. The girl had blood on her face, but Pete follows her, trying to reel her back in. What is the last thing she remembers about Doug?
All right, there were no reports of this. If it happened and then she went home, why would there be any reports?
Yeah.
Like,
he's like, remember. She's like, I remember.
Nah.
No, I made him.
not that though.
Frustrated, Miranda asks why Pete wants to know about Doug when she's telling him about a girl on the bridge. But Pete's voice is calm when he asks her suddenly, was there any trouble in your marriage? Miranda denies that there was before asking why he's using the past tense. She backs away from Pete in the cell, but he circles her, saying her name reassuringly. He asks her, you don't remember anything about Doug? Miranda is scared now and her breath catches. She begs him not to tell her that there's something wrong with Doug, but he admits that he has something very difficult to tell her. Miranda is shaking her head, pleading again. Please don't tell me there's something wrong with Doug. But Pete takes her shoulders gently. Miranda, Doug is dead. You killed him.
The callousness that he expresses this fact, it made me think of those Sunny bloopers. Where he's like, Doug's dead. You offed him about 3 days back. It's like, dude.
No, literally.
Yeah. How?
Yeah.
I was astounded. I did not at this moment. I'm like, what is going on with Pete?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because the way that he's trailing behind her, and I did find it very playful. I found it to be reciprocated. I'm like, okay, were you hounding her and now you have your chance because she's your patient now to be fucking weird? Because the way he's like, get back in your cell, restrain her. I'm like, what the hell? And now he's like, oh, you killed him. It's like cruel.
And there was the ordering of the staff, like you're saying, I wanted to see a moment from him of like being conflicted.
Or even like, that's Miranda. Just
yes.
wait, hold on.
But
like,
he's like right into this mode of just like, you're a patient.
Do your job,
but
restrain
like,
her.
You work for however many years. You
Right.
know her.
Yeah.
So that was very strange. And then the setup of the first conversation where it seems like he's trying to appeal to her on a psychological level, writing aside.
Yeah.
It is very thoughtful in a way to try to get her to understand, and then to just drop the bomb like that. What the hell is this?
I don't know.
It was very weird for me as well. I'll be honest, I kind of already knew what was coming. I don't know if it was because again, I haven't watched this movie for a very long time.
Yeah,
and that's kind of what I told your sister. Because after a minute, I was like, I think I already know what's going on. And I was like, in all fairness, I don't know if that's just me remembering things again, or if it's my mind being like, I already know where this is going.
Mm-hmm.
But it was very odd, his behavior. It was all that. So the whole time I am wondering what is going on. Because even for a second, it had me questioning the beginning of the movie. Because the way he's talking to her, I was like, did that really happen? Was like, what? Did we get like reality and some things and... you know what we're supposed to be seeing mixed together,
like an unreliable narrator. Type of thing.
Right. The place is right, but what's happening is not
right.
But because it is that, just like the way he tells her he's dead, and it's like, dude, I thought y'all worked together. Even if you were after her and she was married to him, and it wasn't gonna happen, and y'all were playfully flirting or whatever.
Yeah.
You're like you said, T, how he was acting earlier, and then now it is just confusing to me. What is your motive now?
Mm-hmm.
What are we doing here?
I can totally see what you're talking about, because it almost feels like Miranda, we've told you this for the past 5 years.
Yeah.
Like it's like, okay, this supposedly happened 3 days ago.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is your colleague that you were trying to fucking get pizza with, that you were trying to hook up with and get her to cheat on her fucking husband or whatever. Like, you knew Doug. Doug was your boss.
Yeah.
You just saw him the other day. Like, it feels very detached and weird, to the point where it is almost like, you were never a doctor here. What are you talking about? You've been here for 10 years. We keep telling you killed your husband. Like, it obviously that's not what we're getting here.
Right.
It is weird to that level.
Mm-hmm.
That if that were the reveal, it'd be like, oh, that's why he was acting like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I'm honestly, at this point, I was kind of starting to fill in the blanks myself into what this movie would become.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so, okay, in my mind, I'm like, okay, so Pete obviously killed Doug.
Right.
And then he framed Miranda somehow out of some, spurned whatever.
Right.
And the cigar that he gave to Pete is going to be the fucking smoking gun.
Right.
Okay.
Smoking gun. Very good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that beyond this, any red herringness, it just does not work.
No.
And I that aspect of the film, and I will defend it probably more than it needs to be defended. I don't like it because it almost feels lazy, because it doesn't fit. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
But Miranda's breathing is ragged now. She screams in denial of this. She is in a full panic when Pete grabs her and forces her down onto the bed. He calls out for the orderly, pinning Miranda's arms down as she sobs and shrieks, swearing that she didn't do it. Irene and the orderlies come back in, and as soon as Irene injects Miranda with the Ativan, her screams start to quiet. But flanked by the orderly and Irene, who holds her down and sedates her, Pete promises that it's going to be okay. He's on her side. Doesn't feel like it.
Yeah.
But Miranda continues to cry. Everything has gone blurry now, and Pete turns to leave the cell. The medication has taken a swift hold, and Miranda closes her eyes and slips into sleep. Very quickly, I talked about an injury that happened on set earlier. I don't know when it happened. I can only assume it was in this scene. So Kassovitz said that this injury happened about halfway through shooting. Halle Berry and Robert Downey Jr. were filming a scene where he had to restrain her, which is what we just saw. By both of their accounts, they had done this multiple times before, but during this take, her wrist bent just the wrong way. They both heard a snap and they froze.
Jesus.
Her ulna broke. It completely snapped.
Ugh.
Production was shut down for about a month so that she could heal. She had a big cast, and she said once it was able to be a shorter cast that only covered her forearm, which is interesting, they were able to continue filming while she healed. So in all of these interviews I read and watched from that time, it is very much downplayed. Robert Downey Jr. was remorseful. He maintained that it was an accident. He felt horrible. Halle Berry even said that she and Robert Downey Jr. are friends. Things like this happen when you're getting so physically involved in a scene. She had previously been injured on set when debris flew into her eye when she was filming Die Another Day.
Oh.
She literally had to have surgery on her eyeball during that filming. So she really, in everything that I saw and read, she was just like, yeah, shit happens, you know? But in that 8 days interview with Kassovitz in 2022, he said that Halle Berry was furious and refused to work with Robert Downey Jr. going forward. And it was a nightmare for him because he had to utilize stand-ins. This was the only count of that version of the story being told that I could find. I don't know what the truth is. Obviously, unfortunately, I was not there.
Right.
But yeah, I found that very interesting because I read so much and I felt bad because he said that that's all anybody wanted to know about. How did it happen? Do you feel bad? What happened? Is she okay? How bad was it? Blah, blah, blah. That's all anybody was asking him. And he was like, I feel horrible. It was an accident.
Yeah.
That like, what the fuck do you want? Like, so, and even Halle Berry's like, he's my friend. It was a mistake. We were both really into it and it happened. So 20 years later for him to be like, oh yeah, she fucking hated him after that. It's just like, it is so odd and weird. And it is the same article that he's like, I never even should have fucking made that movie. Right. So I don't know.
I will say that comes up a lot on this show where we're doing a lot of research and then we come across a story that is literally the polar opposite of another story that we read.
Yeah.
And it's like, not being there, all you can really do is just say, basically, he said,
yes,
she said, this is what happened on both sides. Whatever happened, I do not know. Maybe the truth is somewhere in the middle.
If that is the case, I understand that reaction of you got your fucking arm broken.
Yeah.
Like, that really sucks for everyone involved. I just hope that it was more the way that they were telling it the first time. Although they were promoting the movie, so maybe they were putting a bow on it. I mean, I don't fucking know, but her arm is fine now.
That's true.
That's true. But Miranda soon screams and shakes in the throes of her nightmare. She sees blood splattered up against walls, the girl standing in the rain, bared teeth, bloody faces, red handprints, all while an intriguing beat pulses. When Miranda finally opens her eyes, she's lying on the bunk of her cell alone.
It was an intriguing beat. It wasn't ghost ship intriguing.
No,
but I will give you that. I agree.
Yes.
Later, she is escorted by Irene into the common room where the other inmates turn and look at her, one even remarking in a hushed whisper, "It's Dr. Gray." I don't know how safe this is.
No.
Yeah.
I don't feel like she would be put in Gen Pop.
I wouldn't think so.
I just don't think it's a good idea. Especially, I mean, I know we only saw her in that one session with Chloe, but she doesn't seem beloved.
No.
She locks eyes with Chloe, who sits at a table playing a game with another woman before going to sit by herself on a bench. Chloe tosses Monopoly money into the air, declaring herself the official champion again as she stands and makes her way over to Miranda. She cups Miranda's chin in her fingers, greeting her by her first name and welcoming her. You're one of us now. But as Chloe sits down next to her, Miranda tells her that she knows she doesn't belong here. Chloe reasons that if she's here, it means she belongs. She's not a doctor in here. Dropping her voice to a whisper, she confides that even if you tell the truth, no one will listen. You know why? Because you're crazy.
Now, this is maybe the quickest tables have turned.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything this dramatic in my life. But you're
unless it's like Chloe's a doctor now.
Yeah, it's like, oh my God, I've been all wrong.
A lot's happened in 3 days, Miranda.
But that's something else. You're right. Not only her being in Gen Pop is surprising.
Yeah.
But the fact of this, like, she, according to Pete, this is her first moment of lucidity in 3 days.
Yeah.
She just got the news that she killed her husband.
They're like, go play.
Yeah.
You want to play Monopoly?
It's wild.
Yeah.
Monopoly's just going to anger up the blood right
Honestly,
back.
Yeah. Those games never end.
If we're trying to figure out what happened to Dr. Gray, why are we letting her out?
I don't
Why
know.
are we there's still an investigation, there's still things going on, there's still whatever. What is happening?
You're right, because this implies that like a trial happened and she's been assigned here.
Yeah.
And that hasn't happened.
No.
So, yeah, what the hell is going on?
It doesn't make sense.
Well, he's like, we got the judge. It's like,
Yeah.
what judge? Are you just wearing a white wig?
The only thing that would make sense is that if she wakes up in the ditch.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And none of this.
No.
Miranda looks over at her, and Chloe gives a knowing smirk, circling her finger by her temple. She continues that the more you try to prove them wrong, the crazier you appear. She rests her head on Miranda's shoulder, informing her that she's invisible now. Can't you feel it? Miranda looks over at the other women, leaning dejectedly on the railings, sitting quietly, pondering, staring. Miranda stares forward, but when Chloe begins to caress her face, she harshly knocks her hand away, warning not to touch her. Undeterred, Chloe asks her if she's scared. Miranda turns to look at her, facing this challenge. No. Miranda replies simply before getting up. You should be. She drops a paper in Miranda's lap before walking away, and Miranda unfolds it to reveal a newspaper article. Doctor slaughtered, wife under arrest. Next to a photo of their beautiful home are the thumbnail shots of the smiling doctors, Douglas and Miranda Gray. I don't know how Chloe got this.
No.
But I really can't say enough about Penelope Cruz in this film. She's used so sparingly, but every time she's on screen, she is, I think, phenomenal.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a lot.
Slaughtered.
Yeah.
And I mean, at least from what we deem to be her memory, that house was covered in blood.
Yeah.
That night, Miranda is slick with sweat when she wakes up with a start at the buzzing of the flickering light above her. She sits up, her gown open and revealing her back as the room swims around her. Miranda gets up and we follow as she walks slowly and suspiciously to the glass cell of her door. But she's startled when a fog of air is blown onto it by an unseen force. Lines are drawn to form letters, and written backwards is "not alone." Miranda raises a hand to touch the message, but it quickly dissipates. Fearful and confused, she backs away from the door, but a loud breathing forces her to turn around and look. We follow this gust through strands of her hair, across the skin of her neck and out the other side, where Miranda turns to face us again at the sound of another sigh. We come in close again, toward her eye and on the side of her head when she looks around and realizes, I'm dreaming. She tells herself, dream logic, primary process. That's what this is. She's just dreaming. Dreamer, here, awake. She repeats herself again and again as she settles back down onto her bunk. I'm not crazy. I'm dreaming. She lowers her head, burying it in her hands as a choir of disjointed whispers rises. But just as a frightening hand reaches out to her, It's daytime, and it's only Irene, gently shaking her awake. She tells her cheerily, "Rise and shine, honey, it's a new day." But waiting behind her is an orderly with a cart. I don't know what the fuck Miranda did to Irene before this, but Irene seems to be gleeful. Like, she is taking a lot of pleasure in their new situation.
Yeah.
The only thing I can assume is just as Pete was in love with Miranda, I think Irene was in love with Doug secretly. And she's really just enjoying the fact that she gets to torture Miranda a little bit. But she seemed fine whenever the flashlight thing happened.
Right.
They seemed cordial and friendly.
Yes.
On commentary, the director was like, well, you know, we kind of have a Nurse Ratched thing going on from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And I'm like, that's all well and good, but where the fuck did it come from?
Yeah.
I think that we grow to obviously root for Miranda. We are in her shoes. We're on this journey with her. I think that at the beginning, how dismissive she is in Chloe did put a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah.
And I think it would be interesting to kind of explore a concept of a character who really is up on a fucking high horse and is broken down to understand and sympathize with what is going on in the context of the film. It would be cool if she maybe snapped at Irene or maybe was bitchy or rude to Irene or something to make this moment of like, get up. It's time to get up. Time to go take your fucking shower. Because it's like, why are you acting that way? It seems like everybody here was friends. It's just weird to me. It's just weird. Because Irene she's having a little too much fun for my taste.
Yeah. I think it's that. And then I'm going to be honest. We've got a ghost story now.
Yes.
Like, it's just like there's no other way to
Things have shifted.
Yeah.
And that is very true because they are trying to they're playing too many games where we've got like this psychological thing, then a crime story of this murder, and then but it's
who
like,
done it?
Kind of. But then,
have you done it?
Yeah, we literally see a breath that was not there. Write the words "not alone." Great words, by the way.
Yeah.
Which we'll kind of discuss a little bit later. But fucking, we got your CGI there going behind your hair and everything. That's ghostly.
Yeah.
You've got ghost things going on.
Yeah.
Even the fire at the bridge, it's like, okay, we're not in that film anymore.
Yeah. Because that felt like maybe that could have been a yes, that happened, but not exactly like that.
Yes.
Right.
You know what I mean? Oh, I seen something or whatever. Or I had some kind of intuition or premonition or something. Like something happened there or around there. We got to find it. This is a straight up like, oh no, hey, knock, knock, I'm here.
Yeah.
It's just, it was very a weird introduction. To have that here and then her just be like, I'm dreaming. And it's like, no, you're not.
But it's like, well, we're just going to move on from that.
Yeah.
And we're losing time.
Yeah.
But Irene turns and snaps her fingers at the orderly and the security guards. Miranda sits confused, and when Irene returns with a small cup of pills and some water, she tells her that she wants to talk to Pete. Irene assures her that she'll be able to see him all in good time, but for now, she needs to have some breakfast. Miranda looks down at the cup of pills before raising her gaze back to the nurse. She asks why she's doing this to her, but Irene smiles that she's just doing her job. She adds, "You don't want me to get Jim to help me now, do you?" Miranda continues to look up at her fearfully before taking the pills and washing them down with a drink of water. Irene continues to watch her expectantly until reluctantly, Miranda opens her mouth to show that it is empty. The pills have been swallowed. Irene tells her in a sugary tone, "Good girl." She commends her for doing good before inviting him to come on now because it's time for a shower. Miranda looks mournful, but with a loud buzz, we cut to a door opening into the showers.
I am liking more and more what you suggested, Reneé. If there were an argument maybe about her not making sure that the patients are taking their pills.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
And so she's like, lift your tongue and all that stuff and being very thorough because she's like, that's what you told me to do.
True. Yeah.
But without it, it's just like, why is she like a robot nurse? Like,
It's
where it's like going
weird.
through the motions as if I've never met Miranda in my life.
Yeah.
It's just these moments, like you just said, even if Miranda had told her, I'm the doctor. I'll do my job. You do your job. And she's like, I'm just doing my job.
Yeah.
Like this like malicious compliance or something. But now it's just like, Irene, like, do you treat everyone like this? Is this just who you are? Because we have no evidence of this at all.
No, because again, with the flashlight, she's like, I'm just checking the corridor. Who's the nicest nurse I've ever seen in my life?
The corridor. Guards stand watch at the locked doors, but through the gates, multiple women stand under spraying shower heads. Miranda stands in her robe, lingering by the gate as it slides shut, but Irene stands smugly behind her. She encourages her. Come on, honey, it's time to wash away your sins. Miranda slowly disrobes before walking into the large group of women as they scrub their bodies and faces. She spots Chloe, wringing out her wet hair, throwing her head back to catch the streaming water in her mouth.
And again, the only thing that does make sense is if this is out of some loyalty to Doug. Like, she's torturing her.
Yeah.
Because, I don't even think that this would be allowed, this communal shower situation.
I was shocked.
This is pretty weird.
Yeah.
Miranda pulls her own hair down, and I'm going to refrain from discussing this wig, but she eyes Chloe trepidatiously before finally closing her eyes and basking in the water. The room seems to melt around her, and Miranda opens her eyes with a gasp when the voice of a woman softly echoes, "You're a nut." She looks around, but despite the mounting whispers, the other women are concerned with themselves and not paying her any mind, except for Chloe, who playfully spits out a mouthful of water toward her when Miranda turns and looks at her. But suddenly, among the scrubbing hands, among the sodden strands of hair, Miranda spots the woman from the bridge, just a glimpse of her blonde hair and distorted face, but it's enough for her to cry and hurry away, shielding herself with another showerer. She looks around at the other women who notice her now, but all of their faces have warped, unnatural, and distorted. They sneer at her with these strange new features, and Miranda fully panics, yelping and hurrying through the women, knocking into Chloe, who demands to know through her contorted face, her voice low and wrong, "What's your problem?"
Is that supposed to be a callback to the mirror with the water thrown on it?
Yeah, that's how I took it.
Okay.
The women's faces ripple and bend as they cower from Miranda, but she spots the girl from the bridge again, a slice across the bridge of her nose as she glowers at Miranda from behind another woman. Miranda turns away, but she's there again, angry and growling. The unmistakable shing of an unsheathed knife rings out as she lifts her hand. Miranda raises her own arm in self-defense, but the blonde slashes, grunting and growling as cuts track their way across Miranda's forearm. Miranda screams, but it mingles with the clamoring of the other women who are sprinting from the showers, some of them slipping on the wet floor. And finally, Miranda is left all alone, curled and cowering, trying to catch her breath as a pool of blood spreads beneath her, quickly diluted by the pelting water. This is escalating very quickly.
This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
As far as pacing is concerned.
Yeah.
And
the pacing really is wild.
I will say the way this sequence is shot is wild because you are so enmeshed.
Yeah.
In this entire situation, the quick cuts, I think it was handheld shot, which only makes it seem more frenetic and frenzied.
Yeah.
But I think that, again, how are we going to explain this? How are they going to say something else happened that wasn't a ghost attack?
They have an explanation.
No.
They
have a theory.
Right.
Later, Irene and Pete watch through the glass as the prison doctor, played by Noel Burton, wraps Miranda's arm. Irene admits that she only looked away for a second, but that's unacceptable. Pete tells her that it's not her fault. Patients will always find a way to hurt themselves if that's what they want. But Irene is surprised. She never pegged Miranda for a cutter, that's all. And Pete confesses that he didn't either. Irene casually adds that Shelley said Chloe had been threatening Miranda, so she's going to put her in isolation for the rest of the day. Pete nods in agreement as Irene departs. I don't know when Chloe threatened Miranda or who would have reported that, or
They can't, because of what we're going to see later.
Right.
They can't say that Chloe attacked Miranda in the shower.
Yeah.
And so they have to point to something else to get Chloe into that scene that we see later and leave it open for Miranda to look guilty as fuck later too. So they just threw this in there and it doesn't make any sense.
It's just kind of sloppy work.
It is.
The doctor leaves Miranda alone, staring forward out of focus with her hands neatly in her lap. He approaches Pete, and when Pete asks how Miranda is doing, he tells her that she's a mess. He can't believe she lost it so quickly. He's never seen that before.
You're fired.
Yeah, what?
I'm so like, you can't. I'm over this institution.
It's really next level. Consulting his notes, he says that Miranda cut herself 35 times and she lost a lot of blood, but they're all superficial. Pete inquires about the instrument used, and the doctor estimates that it was a scalpel, although how anybody got it in the showers, he has no idea.
Well, at least there was an investigation.
Yeah.
We haven't found it.
No.
So you'll believe that she got or cut herself, what, 37?
35.
35 times, but you can't find the weapon.
Right.
But you won't believe her when she's saying someone else attacked me.
Yes.
Right.
That's crazy.
It was definitely an invisible scalpel.
Yeah.
See, and that's why I'm saying they all have it out for her. They have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it almost like it's almost like a setup.
Yeah.
Like that's almost what it feels like. Miranda is staring at her own reflection in the two-way mirror, beyond which Pete discusses with her doctor. Her gaze only breaks when he enters the room and she turns toward him. He assures the security guard that they're fine, dismissing him and leaving Pete and Miranda alone. Pete picks up the stethoscope and a blood pressure cuff and sits down next to her. He unfurls the cuff and invites her to give him her arm, but Miranda asks instead, "You think I did this to myself, don't you?" After a pause, Pete just asks, did you? Miranda allows him to secure the cuff around her arm, but she tells him sincerely that she didn't. Pete shrugs that he doesn't know. Who would it be then? Chloe? Miranda admits that she doesn't know, and the two lock eyes as Pete pumps the bulb. He points out that Miranda admitted herself to having a hard time distinguishing what's reality and what's fantasy, so it's possible. Defeated, Miranda nods. I don't remember her telling him that.
I don't either.
Yeah.
Like, that would have been a good session for us to sit in. Because he's like, that didn't happen by the bridge. And she's like, no, yeah, it did. Like, she never admitted, oh, maybe that was a dream and I'm confused. She never said that.
Yeah.
She said that to herself.
Yeah, when she
Yeah.
was like, I'm dreaming, but like, am I bugged? What is this? She allows that as a doctor, she understands why he would think that, but there really is something happening to her. The Velcro rips free as Pete pulls the cuff from her arm. He asks her about this moment, right now. Miranda asks what about it, so Pete offers, is this a hallucination? Miranda counters, is it? Pete rolls in his chair behind Miranda, where he sticks the stethoscope in his ears and presses the cold metal against her back, suggesting that they simply increase the medication until things start to make sense. That seems to just be the answer for everything around here.
And again, I'm just so confused. I'm watching this and I'm like, come on, Pete.
Yeah.
Like, you loved the shit out of me like 3 days ago.
You know this woman.
Yeah. And I know that some things have happened in the span of 3 days and everything. But
I may have murdered my husband.
yeah, I thought you'd be happy.
I did it for you.
It's that.
Like, it's wild.
It's that.
I thought you'd be happy. Locking eyes with him in the mirror, Miranda adds another suggestion coolly. Maybe until she can get herself another doctor. Pete is taken aback by this, but Miranda has her own questions. Since she's hallucinating and can't seem to remember things, maybe he can help her with something. Pete instructs her to inhale so that he can listen through the stethoscope, but when Miranda asks him point blank if they had an affair, he rips it from his ears as well as his glasses from his face. We press in on them, both staring forward, Miranda in the foreground and Pete behind her. He tells her flatly, no. Miranda asks, did you want to? After another pause, Pete admits, yes. Miranda asks if he thinks she wanted to. Again, he says, yes. Miranda wonders why they didn't then, and Pete tells her, because you were married to the boss. He glides away in his chair and a tear falls from Miranda's brimming eye as she points out, but I'm not now.
What?
I don't know what we're doing.
Yeah,
I don't know what we're doing. I don't know what we're doing.
If you're switching tactics, I'm not
Switching
sure. Well, yeah. I didn't know there was sides.
I gotta be honest, dude. I'm watching this. I feel like she's like collecting stuff to bring to her lawyer about the fucking conflicts of interest in this place.
Yeah.
But then she says that, and it's like, well, wait, what angle are you?
She's like, just get me out of here.
Yeah.
Like, break me out,
Yeah.
or we can figure this out on the outside?
Yeah. I don't know.
Because he doesn't bite.
No. Pete stammers, reminding her that he's trying to help her. Why doesn't she trust him? And Miranda tells him, tiny muscles in her face twitching from emotion and exhaustion, because you can't trust somebody when they think you're crazy. Pete slides his glasses back on and looks at Miranda querulously, but as she stares forward, he gets up and leaves the room without another word. So in the screenplay, they did... First of all, Doug does not work with them.
Really?
Doug is the principal at a high school.
Oh.
Okay. And Pete, I think Miranda's been at this prison for almost a year. The dynamics are very different. Phil and her are very friendly. I guess they're friendly here as well, but like his wife he's like, my wife, you've been here almost a year. He's like, we have to have you and Doug over for dinner. Like it starts like a normal day for her or whatever, having coffee and breakfast with her husband, going to the gym, talking with Phil. And she and Pete have this almost will they, won't they situation. And there was an incident that they flash back on at a certain point where they kissed, and she feels guilty about it, and she's like, we can't do this, but they both want to. They both do have feelings for each other, but it's this like gray area of, and when kind of this version of that scene happens, it's like, well, why didn't we go further? Kind of.
Okay.
And so the arc with Pete is in the screenplay a little bit closer to what I was expecting from this film, but he still does have these moments of like, are you my friend or not? Like he goes, it's very back and forth, very frustrating to the point where I don't know why else you would, for me, why are you making him act this way unless you want me to think that he is somehow involved in what's going on?
Right.
But it's such a poor red herring.
Yeah, it's kind of, it's lazy. It's floating upside down, this red herring.
Yeah. Yes.
Is it red?
No.
It's pink.
Get that little net.
Yeah. Get him out of here.
But I think the only thing, like we were saying, the only thing that I would believe for a moment that he had a part in is Doug's death.
Right.
Okay.
But the film wants to make you think that it's much more.
Yeah.
But
but
not
they don't do the work.
No, not for a second.
Later, the doors open and the women are let outside. Phil walks through the parking lot on the other side of the chain link fence, and when Miranda spots him, she hurries, following and calling out to him. She needs to talk to him about Pete. Phil reluctantly pauses and goes over to the gate. He asks what it is about Pete, and she explains that she doesn't think he's the right doctor to be treating her. Phil asks if this is a personal complaint about him, and Miranda shakes her head. He continues that Pete is the best doctor he has on staff right now, and he has Phil's full support. After fixing Miranda with a cold stare, he excuses himself and walks away. Defeated, Miranda turns around and looks back up at the prison where Pete sits watching her in the window. Just as the two lock eyes, he closes it. The fuck was that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's
that
when I'm like,
doesn't
oh, you want me to think he's bad.
Yeah.
It was like when Bart broke his leg. It's just like, why?
Yeah, I didn't understand that.
Later, Irene leads Miranda into the visitation room where Teddy Howard, played by Dorian Harewood, waits for her.
Dorian Harewood. He's got credits for Full Metal Jacket in 87,
Goddamn.
Sudden Death in 95, and Assault on Precinct 13 in 05.
Very cool. That's Ethan Hawke, I believe.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. I can't believe I didn't recognize him from Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah.
That's wild.
When Miranda sees him, she throws her arms around him in a desperate hug, and Teddy hugs her back, wanting to know how she's doing. How are they treating her? In a hurried whisper, she tells him that they're treating her like she's crazy. They think she did it, but she didn't do it. Teddy turns his attention to Irene, thanking her and sending her on her way. Irene leaves with a nod, and Teddy and Miranda sit across from each other at the table.
So this is her lawyer.
Right.
I would like you to fucking get into that judge's ear
Why am I here?
and request a transfer.
You're fired.
This is insanity that and a complete conflict of interest for
Yes.
the staff that I worked with to be in charge of me right now.
Yeah.
So you do your job, sir.
Teddy advises that they don't talk about what she did or didn't do. What's important is what he can do for her now.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The DA is pushing for a hearing as early as next week, but this is terrible news to Miranda, who points out that there hasn't even been time to investigate. They can't do it next week. Teddy agrees, and as her attorney, he is compelled to tell her that the evidence is overwhelming. She was at the scene. The sheriff himself saw her driving home. Her neighbors heard the screams. Not only do they have the murder weapon, but they have her fingerprints on the murder weapon. Her prints are on the floor, the walls, everywhere. We press in on Miranda, who demands to know her motive then. She doesn't have one. Why would she do that? She suggests that maybe one of Doug's ex-patients came to their house, and she asks if anyone has checked the files for an escapee. That person would have a motive. If that's the case, then she would have been there. She would have screamed, and she would have went into shock. Teddy gently calls her name and informs her that their only shot is to plead temporary insanity, and he doesn't even know if that's going to work.
Oh my God. What the fuck am I supposed to do?
Yeah, I'm just screwed then, right? Is that what you're saying?
I mean,
It is what he said.
and I'm sorry, but her trying to pin it off on a former patient is wild too.
Yeah.
And you think that they wouldn't check that? Like,
She's like, where was Chloe that night?
yeah, like what the hell, dude?
Miranda is dumbstruck, but Teddy continues that the fact that she's a brilliant psychologist will lead the jury to think that if she wanted to kill someone, she would fake insanity and get away with it. Miranda rebuts that she's not crazy, and Teddy agrees. That's the point. But losing her patience and raising her voice, Miranda tells him what the point really is. She's the only one around here who believes that she didn't kill her husband. That's the point. She asks him genuinely, "Do you think I'm crazy?" Teddy only stares back at her, neither confirming nor denying. But that's enough of an answer for Miranda. She dismisses the question. Nodding her head, she tells him to forget it. The two sit in silence as someone enters in the shadowy doorway behind Miranda. Teddy warns that Sheriff Ryan wants to talk to her, but since he and Doug were best friends, he advises against it. Miranda thinks for a moment, but she decides that it's fine. She'll talk to the sheriff because she doesn't have anything to hide.
Has nobody heard of recusing yourself from anything?
I feel like this is such a misconception. Always shut the fuck up. Always get a lawyer. It's like, no, that makes me look guilty. No, it's covering your ass.
Yeah.
Don't get this lawyer.
Yeah. He's not going to help you.
Get another lawyer. The guard in the doorway waves the sheriff in, and he towers over both the guard and Pete, who's here now, and trails behind him. Miranda looks up at him with wide eyes, but he takes a chair from against the wall and brings it across from her to have a seat, avoiding eye contact with her. Miranda looks worriedly over to Pete, who holds up his hand, his fingers splayed. He mouths, 5 minutes. As Sheriff Ryan settles into his chair, he levels his gaze at Miranda. She tells him in a small voice, "Hi, Bob." And he responds with a measured nod, "Miranda?" He pulls out his notepad, explaining that he just has a few things to clear up. He begins, when Miranda first came in and Doug was sitting on the couch. He falters before detailing that from reconstructing the crime scene, they found that the first blow came from directly in front of him, which means he must have seen it coming. What they don't understand is how Ryan's voice catches. He breaks away from his official line of questioning and asks her baldly, Why did you do it? Teddy tries to stop him, but Ryan continues. How could she kill Doug like that? He loved her. He admits that that's the only question he needs answered, but Teddy counters that she doesn't need to answer that. Miranda shakes her head, asserting that she doesn't have any answers to give him. Ryan's softness burns away, and he demands that she better start thinking of some answers because she's in some trouble. He yells, asking if she understands him. Pete even jumps in now, warning that that's enough, but the sheriff has risen to his foreboding height. He demands for Miranda to look him in the eye and tell him why she did it. Both Teddy and Pete clamor, adamant that that's enough. We're done. Miranda just stares as Ryan turns on Pete, offering that they can kill his best friend and see how he feels about it. This is wildly unprofessional.
Yeah.
And again, you should never be on this case to begin with. Pete reminds the sheriff that he promised no shock treatment, but his delivery was really funny. It was kind of distracting. You said no shock treatment. But Ryan
You don't want to take that again?
Yeah, no.
Okay. Leave it in.
It's fine. But Ryan has some shock treatment. You want some shock treatment? Here's your little beauty secret.
I fucking knew it, dude.
No, here's some shock treatment. He opens the file, spilling out glossy and bloody crime scene photos. Pete tries to stop it, but the damage is done, and he can only tell Miranda not to look at them. But it's too late.
They're right in front of me.
Yeah.
And it's very crucial to the case they're building against me.
Yeah.
Since my lawyer doesn't give a fuck about me.
I gotta look at these. Her jaw drops as her eyes scan the photos, and Ryan adds insult to injury. He had to pick Doug up off the floor, Miranda, and he was in pieces. Miranda's trembling hands trace over the bloody pictures, and when she looks back up, her tearful eyes dart between the three men towering over her. Her breath is ragged in her panic, but everything stops when Teddy asks, Miranda, what's that? Miranda looks down at her bandaged arm, where fresh, dark blood has begun to bloom through the gauze. She pulls it off, revealing her sliced-up arm as Irene hurries over. She unveils it, the blood glistening in the dim lighting of the room, and we see now that the cuts form words. Not alone. Ryan and Teddy both look at her with disgust, and when Miranda moves the top photo aside, she sees why. Written in blood on the wall, weeping red against the bright yellow in the crime scene photo, are two words: not alone. Now I'll admit this looks
Yes.
I understand. It's all circumstantial, I want to say very quickly. Now this, and we've maintained this for fucking years, that this should have been the title of the film.
Yes, Not Alone for this film is a better title than Gothika, for sure.
I think it is. I think the problem is you're telling me immediately what I'm looking for.
Right.
So
True, but what the fuck is a Gothika?
I will give you that Gothika gives away nothing.
no, yeah.
But this now, they all saw in the medical examination room. The doctor put the fucking bandages on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why did nobody say, hey, that's what she wrote? Or,
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
and we have to have this reveal, and it's like, wounds only weep when you're guilty or whatever. It's like, what?
It just looks really bad.
It looks terrible.
It looks like you cut yourself because you did this at the crime scene as well.
Right.
Yeah.
And you carved this into your arm.
And this is your messaging.
Yes.
Yeah. Miranda looks from the picture to her arm and rises on shaky legs, backing away from all of them. Irene assures her in a low tone that it's okay, but Miranda sobs, demanding to know why they're doing this to her. Pete and Irene both grasp handfuls of her gown to lead her away, but Miranda continues to question, her voice mounting in a scream. Pete and Irene lead her off, leaving Ryan and Teddy to eye each other uneasily. In a room, she's strapped to her bed, a tray of medicines and syringes on a small table next to her. A steady heartbeat pulses as she sleeps, but she gets horrifying, disjointed images. Something bloody and writhing, a woman raising a weapon over a cowering man, a bloody handprint being left on a plush carpet, thick blood squelching as it's used to leave a message on the wall. All the while, Miranda twitches in her sleep, her eyes moving back and forth and the lids fluttering. But in her memory now, we see Doug on the couch, cigar in one hand. His dropped drink levitates back into his waiting hand as everything is played in reverse. His shocked expression transforms back into a relaxed one, and we pull back to see Miranda's hand, dripping with rainwater as it hangs by her side. Now, her eyelids continue to flutter, but in her memory, she greets Doug, the word backwards and distorted, her hair and face wet with rain. Outside the house, Miranda releases her grip on an axe handle, the blade stuck into the stump. She walks backwards out of the creaking front gate, closing it behind her instead of opening it as she enters. She continues backward, her eyes wide and intense, back to the bridge where she saw the woman. Her dropped coat floats back up into her hand as the droplets of rain fall upward. Finally, Miranda lowers her head, and now she wakes with a gasp. But her eyelids flutter back down, the eyes rolled to whites as her memory continues. She gasps backwards for air, rain running up her face, and although she is alone, when we circle around her, that blonde girl is there, bleeding, bruised, and sobbing. We continue to circle around them as Miranda pulls back on her coat, but suddenly everything slows. Rising droplets of rain pause before falling in their appropriate direction, and Miranda is pulling her coat off again. She's trying to offer it to this poor girl, but with a shriek, the blonde has gone up in flames, transferring them to Miranda, whose body rocks with the fire emanating from her eyes and mouth. She takes it in before lowering her head and looking back up with a start.
I just have to say for a moment, the CG raindrops were a bit much.
They weren't great.
No.
But
Maybe they were chubby rain.
Okay.
All right, we're back.
We're back.
I do appreciate this like little montage of memory through different angles and slow motion and all that stuff. Some of the stuff does work pretty well.
Yeah. And I like that we saw kind of glimpses of this when she came home and found Doug on the couch when she's remembering with Pete.
Mm-hmm.
And so now it's kind of peeling it back and we're getting a little bit more of him being afraid and dropping his drink. And then that's like as far as she can go. And then we go back to the bridge.
Yeah.
I think that that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And it is that shot for me where it shows him in fear and then reverse back to normal.
Yeah.
Having just seen her.
Yeah.
That was pretty like unsettling.
Yeah, it was. Because it shows how quickly, like, everything, this moment and everything that's happened in this film, how quickly everything is just turned.
Yeah.
We glide down the hall to Phil's office with its frosted glass door, and Phil is inside, amongst the empty shelving and packed boxes. There's a knock on the door before it opens, and Miranda steps into view, trailed by Pete. She lingers in the doorway, but Phil invites her to come in. When Phil tells her to take a seat, Miranda does as she's told, her nose red and her eyes bleary. He points out that she wanted to see him, and Miranda admits in a small voice, "I was there. I was there when Doug was killed." Pete eyes Phil, but Phil just nods. Miranda adds that she wasn't alone, though, and that's what not alone means. We have a couple theories on what not alone means. A little deflated, Pete asks who was there with her, but Miranda admits that she doesn't know who it was. Phil and Pete exchange a look, but Miranda is getting more worked up, repeating that she doesn't know who it was, but she cries that somebody else was there. Pete gently tells her that they know she has no family left, but they are her family now. This turns Miranda's crying into sobs, but she says that she knows that. Phil assures her that they're going to do everything they can to help her and to make her feel more secure and like she can trust them. He tells her that there's a hearing scheduled, but Miranda isn't listening to him anymore. Something has caught her eye that stops her tears, turning her expression from sorrow to shock. She stands and Pete tries to pull her back, but she wrenches her arm away from him. Transfixed, she walks over to a packed box, a framed photo of a teenage girl balanced on the top, upside down. Miranda picks up this picture and turns it right side up, revealing a smiling blonde. Pete has followed her, and now Phil stands there. Miranda turns to him and asks, "Who is this girl?" Pete tries to force her to put the picture back, but Miranda pulls away from him again, pleading to know who she is. Phil tells her solemnly, "That's my daughter, Rachel." But Miranda holds the framed photo to her chest and taps on the glass with a frantic finger, adamant. No, this is the girl I saw on the bridge. Phil tells her calmly that that's not the case. It's impossible. But Miranda is emphatic that it is. When she asks why it is impossible, Phil shatters her rambling with the information. She's dead. The two stare at each other, Miranda now at a loss for words as Phil continues that Rachel died 4 years ago. The music swells and Miranda turns the picture to get a closer look at Rachel.
But you know she's a ghost. Or you think, or you're whatever. You swallowed her when she was on fire. I mean, what? Like we seen that a minute ago. What?
You're seeing things in your cell. You were attacked by her in the showers.
Anything.
I would be like, how? Like, what happened? I swear I saw her. Like, I don't know.
What I don't understand is that you don't know this about Phil, your colleague.
That's true.
That you don't know anything about his family.
Yeah.
You've apparently never been to his office to see this photograph.
That's true. Because there is a lot of implied history here between everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. But the score grows ominous and we cut to the sky outside where day quickly becomes night. And in the darkness of it, we glide down the hallway containing the cells, floating along the floor, following ghostly footprints until we find Miranda in her cell, lying on the bed with her eyes open beneath the flickering light. But when we find her, the flickering stops and Miranda sits up in her bed. She tells herself, I'm a rational person. I believe in science. I don't believe in the paranormal, and I don't believe in ghosts. She reasons, but if this is the ghost of Rachel Parsons, then she would let her out of her cell. After the briefest pause, the lock clunks loudly as it turns, released by unseen hands in the hallway. Miranda goes over to the door and pushes it open with no resistance.
That's confirmation it's a ghost.
Yeah.
There's no other thing that we need, no matter how much schooling, how much work experience we have around here, anything. You're seeing this.
Yeah.
You're experiencing this.
That was an answer to what you said.
Yeah.
And I'd say that means that whoever is doing this, whatever ghost is involved, is pretty fucking powerful.
Yeah.
In which case, to me, I'm starting to kind of formulate ideas of maybe why Miranda was used at all.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm thinking when this heavy-ass lock clunks open. I'm like, okay, you can lift an axe.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just like, I don't, whatever. But Miranda jogs to the end of the hallway, and the door containing the cell area is unlocked too. Miranda goes through, only to catch a glimpse of Rachel Parsons, walking in glitchy jerks in her white gown. She walks out of sight, but Miranda cowers, backing away before sprinting down the hall in the other direction. When a guard passes by at the end, she panics and falls, but she's able to quickly collect herself and flatten against the wall. But the door next to her bursts open when a custodian steps out with his cart. He heads back inside the room, leaving enough time for Miranda to snatch a lime green screwdriver and run away. So this lime green color occurs like when we're on the right track to something, I've noticed. And some of the places that it's used, like here, I thought was a little odd, but I did notice it.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I just think that it's great that this place has no alarms.
Yeah.
No
the
security.
staff is unobservant, and they're also short-staffed on Thursdays.
I was going to say it's Haddonfield.
Yeah, seriously. They're trying to do it in the hot tub. Or the swimming pool, since everybody uses it.
Yeah. It is weird that the ghost showed me where to go, but I refused and went the other way.
Also,
you opened the door for me, and then
like,
you look, and it's like, hey, this
too
way.
scary.
It's like, no.
Tricked you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm getting the fuck out of here.
Thought I was going to help you.
And that's the other thing, again. That's why I'm saying it's so weird with how this ghost is treating Miranda.
Yeah.
Why are you scaring me? Why are you walking around so jazzy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is odd because it's like wrathful.
Yes.
Miranda is able to use the butt of the screwdriver to break a hole in the corner of the glass leading to the offices. She reaches through this hole, still undetected, to open the door and let herself inside. But when she makes it to her office, she finds it to be locked with the crime scene tape draped over it. Undeterred, Miranda instead decides to investigate Pete's office right next door to hers. When she can't see through the window, she uses the screwdriver to pick the lock and let herself inside. She could have done this to her own office.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is this, a fucking Fallout? How do you know?
Well, that's too close to home. I don't want to deal with it right now. There's nothing in Pete's office that'll disturb me, like a picture of Doug or
Right.
something.
Fair enough.
And why is her office a crime scene?
Yeah.
Like, I understand taking her computer or whatever to see if she's Googling, like, how to kill your husband and
Yeah.
get away with it or whatever.
Yeah.
How to fake an insanity plea. But just take the computer.
Yeah. You could just take all the shit out of there.
Yeah.
Nothing happened in that office. But once inside Pete's office, she's able to use her skeleton key screwdriver to open the top drawer of his desk and get his huge ring of keys. But something that was under the keys catches her eye and she picks it up. A photo of Pete and Miranda, with Miranda smiling at the camera, but Pete gazing at her. The back is marked with the date 1/1/2001. But Miranda is illuminated when Pete's computer screen suddenly clicks to life, displaying an article from the Bridgefield Herald with the headline, "Local Girl Commits Suicide." Beneath is the same picture of Rachel Parsons smiling. It's so funny that Miranda didn't follow her, so she's like, here, bitch, like, I gotta fucking follow you down here, spell it out for you.
And she knew that she wouldn't go to her own office.
Yeah.
Miranda sits down, staring at the article, and we zoom in on the headline in case we didn't catch it the first time. But her reading is interrupted when a small window of security footage from the hallway pops up. I don't know if Rachel also did that. Miranda peers closer to find Rachel Parsons standing under the frantic lights of the hall, staring right into the camera. Miranda sees the footage is from Solitary and she breathes the name, Chloe.
I really loved this visual.
Mm-hmm.
There was something about the zoom and the grainy camera.
Yeah, it's very creepy.
It is.
Yeah.
But ever resourceful, Miranda makes sure to print the article, snatching the freshly printed page on her way out of the office. I don't know why that was funny to me,
It was.
but it was.
It's because it was fast.
Uh-huh.
It was done really quick.
She's like, oh my God, Chloe. And file?
Yeah.
Print. She sprints down the halls, past the stations, and through unlocked doors completely unseen. This is when I put, what is this, Haddonfield Memorial? But she makes it unscathed to the Solitary wing. She steps into the center of the hall, just like Rachel did, and the lights are going haywire, buzzing and clicking as they flicker and malfunction. When there is a thud on one of the doors, the lights return to normal. Miranda goes to investigate where the noise came from, slowly approaching the door to the steady pulse of a heartbeat, peering in through the T-shaped window of the door. But she's startled when Chloe's bleeding face is slammed against the view before falling away. The keys rattle as Miranda tries to find the right one to free Chloe, but heavy footsteps stop her in her tracks. Miranda looks back up at the window in the door to see a man's chest. He steps forward, filling the view with his tattoo, a screaming woman engulfed in flames, her shackled hands raised in surrender. Miranda runs away, screaming for help at the top of her lungs. When she reaches the end of the hallway, she's promptly tackled by two orderlies and brought to the ground. As they try to restrain her, she fights them, screaming for them to go check Chloe. She needs help. But we cut to Pete arriving in the area with the meeting rooms, and we glide above him, watching him through the grated ceiling as he reaches the one where Miranda waits for him. So this was a lot. This was a lot going on.
Yeah.
Very much.
Chloe is exonerated. She is vindicated. Everything that she said was true.
Mm-hmm.
This hulking man in the view, that tattoo, all of this was very, very frightening.
Right.
Very sad, very horrible. And the fact that clearly if we're just, we're meeting with Pete to talk to him, nobody fucking listened to her when she said, go check Chloe.
Yeah.
But Miranda is up against the door before Pete even opens it, asking if he talked to Chloe. Pete says that he did, and when she asks if Chloe was sexually assaulted, Pete seems taken aback by the question, and as he locks the door back behind him, he tells her, no. Why? Miranda asks if they checked her, and when Pete assures her, of course they did, Miranda reasons that he must not have had time. Pete is trying to understand, but Miranda has moved on to the cut on Chloe's face. Pete explains that she ran into a wall. She did it to herself. I think I might smack Pete.
Yeah.
I think I would probably be in big trouble because you can't be serious.
That's frustrating because that's your answer. Oh, she ran into a wall. Oh, that was self-inflicted. No, you're just saying
everything's
that.
self-inflicted.
Yeah.
I was going to say it sounds familiar to the not alone on my arm.
Yeah, it's very convenient that everything that happens to the women here, they've done to themselves.
Yeah.
But Miranda just moves on. She saw a tattoo. Did Chloe talk about a tattoo? Pete just invites her to sit down and Miranda obliges, but she describes the tattoo. A woman in flames with her hands up like a biblical image. Pete offers the anima sola. Miranda is positive that that's what she saw. I'm like, how do you know that off the top of your head?
I was going to say nobody knows that.
Yeah.
Maybe a few cardinals, perhaps.
Yeah.
But I was like, fuck off, Pete. There's no way.
Yeah, I'd be like, did you just make that up or are you for real?
It's like, well, that's what I call it.
Yeah.
Maybe that was Pete's tall, broad chest that we saw.
I don't. It's like, come on. And that's what they're trying to get you to think.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
fucking ridiculous.
I think that's why in the early moments, it's like, what the hell is Pete's motivation here? What are his motives? Whatever. But after we see that, like that very striking image, it's like, okay, you can't keep telling me this beat.
No.
Yeah, no, not at all.
But Miranda is positive that that is what she saw. Pete maintains that it's a common archetypal image, the woman in chains awaiting her fate. But that's not what Miranda is talking about. Not an archetypal image, but a tattoo that she saw on the chest of a man. When Pete doesn't respond, she repeats again that that is what she saw. But with the sure point of his finger, Pete decides, you're in crisis.
So again, fuck you, Pete.
Yes.
I
yes,
was like
yeah.
ripping out my hair. You're
Yeah.
not on my team.
But
You're not on my
that's,
side.
That's the exact thing. Miranda, you weren't on Chloe's team. You weren't on Chloe's side.
Yeah.
You're saying that she's trying to revert to archetypal images to repress what happened.
Right.
So he's literally just doing what you did at the beginning of the film.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that, did she say when she was telling Pete what happened that the girl was on fire, or no? She just said she was cut up.
I don't know now.
Yeah, I don't think she said the fire,
Right.
but I was very happy that she even said that.
Yeah.
Because it's like, details that
Yes.
I'm sure only certain people know, or the cops or whoever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why say that? Keep saying that, because again, it's going to be like, this is very specific. It's
Yes,
like,
very specific about a thing that I did not know anything about.
yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I just thought, I don't know. It's just odd. Pete is so dismissive. He maintains that this image is tailor-made for her state of mind, a woman in purgatory. Miranda is stricken silent, and Pete takes the opportunity to tell her that he does need her to explain this, though. He slides a crinkled piece of paper across the table, the article on Rachel Parsons. I was like, so they found that, but they didn't find his giant ass key ring that she stole?
Yeah.
Because nobody's saying anything about that. Miranda shoots her shot. Rachel Parsons did not commit suicide. Pete immediately counters this. She jumped off the bridge. She was washed downstream 5 miles over brush and rocks. She jumped off of where?
A bridge.
And I saw her where?
A bridge.
Yep.
Hello?
Mm-hmm.
But Miranda is talking over him, arguing that she was cut up. Pete is like, oh, you saw her. And Miranda says that she did. Somebody did that to that girl. They're talking over each other. And even Pete is getting more animated as he rattles off all the people that Miranda is saying are wrong. Parsons, the police, the newspapers, the coroner. He adds sarcastically that maybe they should reopen the case. And Miranda yells that maybe they should. She continues that she's seen this girl and Rachel is connecting to her. She doesn't know how, but she is. Pete is rattling off diagnoses on his fingers: delusions, hallucinations, disorganized speech, incoherence. This finally breaks Miranda and she pounds on the table, yelling at him not to rattle off the psychiatric shit to her because she knows it like the back of her hand. Pete is like, good. Good.
Yeah. I have to say, I love scenes like this.
Yes.
They are not easy to perform.
Right.
Yeah.
To go over each other like this. One of my favorite ones as well, and it kind of put me in the mind of it, was the scene in Jackie Brown with Ray Nicolette where they're going on about the lie detector or whatever.
Yeah.
I love scenes like this, and they're underrated, and I want to see them more in film. That's all
I totally agree. That ending was just pretty funny to me.
Yeah.
Good. But getting up from the table, he declares that saves him the trouble. He unlocks the door and lingers before stepping into the hall long enough to inform Miranda that the glass cells are having electrical problems, so he's transferring her to a psych ward cell. Miranda glowers at him and he adds, "One strike and you're going to solitary. Don't screw it up." He slides the door closed and we follow him down the hall. Miranda continues to call out to him, emphatic that Rachel Parsons was there. She doesn't know if she was dead or alive, but she knows that girl came to her. Still sitting at the table, Miranda blinks her wet eyes, repeating, "She came to me," letting it sink in. She folds up the article that Pete apparently let her keep.
That's interesting.
We cut to the yard outside where we float past a lackluster volleyball game and women clustered together at tables. But Chloe sits alone, her face cut and bandaged. Miranda approaches her with a gentle, "Hi, Chloe. I'm sorry." This is when Chloe finally looks up at her, the deep gash in her eyebrow taped closed, her top lip cut, deep dark bags under her eyes. Miranda lowers herself to be eye level with Chloe, and she tells her sincerely that she's sorry that she didn't believe her. Now she needs Chloe to tell her who did this to her. Chloe chuckles bitterly, but Miranda continues to implore her to tell her his name, tell her anything. Chloe's eyes fill with tears as she offers to tell Miranda one thing. He can have her body, but he can never have her soul. Never. She turns away from her and Miranda stands, turning her back on Chloe. But Chloe rises, and to Miranda's surprise, Chloe throws her arms around her in a hug. Miranda turns and embraces her, assuring her that it's okay as Chloe strokes her hair like a child. Tears rolling down her face, Chloe pulls back to whisper in Miranda's ear, "He said you're next." The tense score mounts as Miranda digests what she's just been told.
What do you even do with that?
Yeah, I know.
You tried to help Chloe. Nobody believes you. Nobody would even go check. It's horrible. It's just horrible. Later, Irene walks through the nurse's station, telling the nurse at the desk to try to stay awake. She lets herself out of the door, closing it and locking it behind her, and informing her coworker that if she needs her, Irene will be in the coffee room. She walks down the long row of cells, light beaming from the small windows in their doors, and she only pauses to peer into the window for room 33. After a moment, she calls out, "Lights out," and she continues on her way as the lights in the windows dim to nothing. But inside room 33, Miranda sits on her tiny bed in her tiny room with her back to the door and her arms crossed. But her head perks up when the light in the hallway begins to flicker. Something hurries by, dragging their shadow past the light coming in through the gap in the door. Miranda lowers herself to the floor to look through the gap, but when she drops, she reveals Rachel Parsons standing behind her. The light buzzes loudly as it flickers, and Miranda pops back up with a gasp to find the room empty except for her. She looks around nervously, gasping at every sound as the lights continue to spasm, but the gasps turn to a scream when she suddenly finds herself face to face with Rachel. In a surprising move, Rachel pushes her and Miranda flies across the room, hitting the corner of the opposite wall hard and folding to the floor. She stands terrified, screaming for Rachel to leave her alone, but Rachel isn't done. She appears again and throws Miranda directly into a random set of wooden shelves on the far wall. They explode on impact and clatter with Miranda to the floor. In the security room, two guards, played by Jason Cavalier and Andy Bradshaw, watch a black and white movie, laughing as they remark on the costumes in 50s B movies. But one of the guards happens to catch sight of the footage being monitored in Miranda's cell. He points it out to the other guard, whose name tag reads Burton, and the two stare up at it. On the monitor, Miranda's bed is overturned. The shelves are broken, and she's being thrown back and forth against the wall by an unseen force. The guards decide that Dr. Gray is trying to kill herself. Burton sprints away as the other guard radios in suicidal behavior in cell 33.
No, supernatural behavior.
Yeah.
in cell 33.
Yeah.
I'm like, is this liar? Nobody can do this to themselves.
She flew across the room.
Yeah.
She's
for
kicking
real.
her own ass. She's being thrown.
Yes.
Yeah.
Explain.
Undeniably.
I would be mad because Ghost, I'm trying to help you and you're in here fucking me up.
So
That's
this
the
is
thing.
This is the thing too. Is what the sequence that happens next all happens because they saw this footage and went and opened the door.
Uh-huh.
So I'm like, Rachel, honey, there were other ways. You were
Yeah.
unlocking doors left.
I was going
and
to say,
right.
you've already proven.
Yeah, no shit.
Like if you're like, oh, this is all part of my plan to get them in here.
No, hold, you gotta, this part's going to be rough. But
Right, stick with me.
yeah, hang on. It'll all make
I feel
sense.
like you could have done this another way. But in her cell, we see that it's Rachel Parsons snarling as she whips Miranda's ass back and forth against the walls. Burton runs down the hall where he meets Irene coming back from her coffee break. He uses his flashlight and both he and Irene peer in through the window for a moment before he yells out for cell 33 to be opened. With the loud buzz, it is. Miranda is sprawled on the floor, the debris from the destroyed furniture all around her. And Burton comments, "Damn, what a mess."
What, really?
I know.
I can't believe this staff, dude.
He enters and Irene follows behind, cautioning him to wait so that she can sedate Miranda. But this seems unnecessary to Burton, who comments that she's already out. He squats down, ignoring Irene when she tells him not to argue with her. He brings his fingers down to her neck to check for her pulse, and Miranda suddenly springs to life with a scream. She raises her hand, knocking into Burton and somehow rendering him immediately unconscious.
He was already passing out, I think. He had 1%. He had 1 health, 1 HP left.
That was it.
His eyes are even closed. She goes to Irene, pushing her against the wall. And when Irene begs Miranda not to hurt her, she pushes her down and runs from the cell. But as she sprints toward the nurse's station, Irene screeches out for someone to get her. She's got her keys. The nurse at the station tries to close the door, but Miranda body slams it so hard that not only does the door fly open, but the nurse flies back across the desk and collapses onto the floor.
Damn.
This has to be a dream, right?
Yeah,
Like, there's no way all this is working out so well.
I kind of couldn't believe what I was seeing. And Miranda is off. She uses the keys to let herself into the communal area, but she's quickly spotted by one of the guards who booms at her, yelling for her to wait and sounding an alarm. But Miranda is moving. The guard radios in for a runner, an escaping inmate in block 3. But by the time he makes it down from his elevated office and reconvenes with the other guards, Miranda is nowhere in sight. Deciding that she gave them the slip, they all depart to find her. But we glide around the tables searching until we find Miranda still in the communal area.
Where the hell, like, what did you search, really? She's just standing. She's got, like, she's a coat rack.
It has this with a lampshade over her head.
Yeah, like, what are you doing?
Well, there's nothing here. She sneaks by, using her keys to open a door and let herself into another area as the droning alarm continues to beep. The guards yell as Miranda hectically climbs a claustrophobic staircase. She's spotted by the guards in the beams of their flashlights, but Miranda is undeterred. She clamps the keyring in her teeth and continues climbing up the ladders in her bare feet. She makes it to another level of this labyrinth of a prison, and when she finds that one of the doors won't budge, she sprints across the catwalk to another, pushing it open to find herself in a narrow hallway fenced in by chain link. She runs across, blocked when the ending of the hall is crammed with a video game ass wall of furniture. I was like, is this Silent Hill? The guards are closing in on her, moving through the halls with their lights, finding the unlocked doors she's left behind her, and realizing that she's on the upper level. Miranda peels back a corner of loose fencing and crawls through, scaling down the side as the guards call out to her.
All right. This is going on way too long.
And they found her quick. Like, they followed her. She didn't even get away.
No, she didn't. I don't know why this is happening like this.
Yeah.
I know we're trying to showcase this wonderful location that we found.
It's that.
You know, but I think Andy Dufresne had a shorter prison escape. Yeah. And that includes scooping out the wall.
I will tell you, in the screenplay, there's a completely different character, I believe, named Simon.
Okay.
Who is responsible for the assaults that are happening in the prison. Completely different character. He does not exist in this film. But what Chloe said is true. Miranda was next. He goes into her cell this night, to assault her, and he's about to inject her with a sedative. She is able to get the upper hand. She injects him with the sedative instead, takes his uniform, his like orderly uniform or whatever, puts it on, steals his keys, walks right the fuck out the front door, gets in his car, and drives away.
Wow.
It's like a page.
That's
okay.
That
completely
compared
different.
to this, I was like, I prefer what happened in the screenplay because it's so long.
It is.
It's so long. And it's like, why is she scaling fences?
Yeah.
Why have we seen every level of the prison now?
Yeah.
It's very funny. It almost feels like a game. Like
Really?
a video game.
Okay.
Like you have to be stealth. You have to like it's just was really funny to me. But she finally loses her grip and falls, landing among scattering rats hard on the floor below. But there ain't no rest for the wicked, and Miranda immediately gets up and sprints away, the lights from the guards' flashlights tracking her from the upper level.
She's lucky that rat broke her fall.
Yeah.
So thanks for taking one for the team, rat. Just keeps going.
He's trying to catch her.
He was trying to help. Finally, Miranda reaches what used to be a place of comfort for her, the pool room. She runs across the tile, her reflection mirrored in the pool as she crouches past the flashlight beams bouncing in the next room. And does anybody else think of that one sequence from Life is Strange?
Absolutely.
Okay, so it was sparked here where I'm like, oh my God, this is literally like when they're hiding in, the pool area from whatever. If you played the game or you haven't. Mm-hmm. But this is very, very reminiscent to a scene in Life is Strange.
Okay.
So with that implanted in my head, going forward, there are so many similarities in story and locations.
And whenever you brought it up to me, I was like, oh, and her only confidant's name is Chloe.
Yes! You cannot tell me if the writer of Life is Strange came up to me and said, I've never even heard of Gothika, I'd be like, sir, you're a liar. I don't fucking believe it.
It's a wild amount of overlap.
It's so much.
That's funny.
Anyway, the score is low when Miranda reaches the other side of the pool and goes to unlock the door here. But when she sees the lights are getting closer, she tucks the key ring into her pocket and hurries to the edge of the pool. Miranda slowly slides in as the guards approach, one arguing that he doesn't even think she made it into this building anyway. She waits until the very last moment when they enter the room to take a breath and fully submerge herself in the water. She floats down low, holding herself into the corner. The guards walk all the way around the pool, their shoes thudding, their radios crackling, their flashlights scanning the water. They round the pool, their lights missing the small bubble that has risen to the surface, and they're walking away by the time a cluster of larger ones joins it. Miranda squeezes her eyes shut, holding her breath for as long as she possibly can. But above, the men are chuckling, agreeing that they don't think she's in here as they leave the pool room. Miranda is fighting for her life down below the surface of the water. But when she opens her eyes, Rachel Parsons is there, screaming in anguish as her blonde hair flies back. Miranda screams too, letting loose a stream of bubbles. And just as the door to the pool room closes, she surfaces with a squeak.
Again, I know that maybe that was helpful. It did feel a lot like, get out of the fucking pool.
Yeah. She's like, they're already gone, you're safe.
But it was, this is your spot to go. And the guards entering the pool.
Yeah. They would have seen her.
Like, she's right there.
The pool's crystal clear. It's
is.
clean. Where she's at and they come in, you would have seen her right away.
Immediately.
Is
What's
that
Right
a full adult?
Yeah.
Soaking wet, she crouches down and goes into the lobby where Joe sits on the phone, complaining in the darkness of the room that this is the 4th time this month that this has happened. Miranda crawls behind the desk, and just as she reaches up towards keys on a board, the lights come back on. Joe ends the call with a sarcastic, "Thank you." Guards on the other side of the desk lower their flashlights. Joe turns and spots Miranda, and he's startled, but luckily his only reaction is a whispered, "Shit!" The guards approach the desk, calling out for Joe, but Miranda stares at him with desperate eyes, feverishly shaking her head. One of the guards, played by Kwesi Songwe, catches his reaction and asks Joe if he saw something. He gets closer, but Miranda has disappeared from behind Joe. Joe says that he did see something just now when the monitors came on. Something flashed in front of the camera in corridor 6. Satisfied, the guard gives the orders, scattering the men to find Miranda. When they depart, we see that Joe has concealed Miranda under the desk. She points up at the keys behind him that she was trying to reach for when the lights came back on. Joe plucks a set from the board and hands it to her, offering for her to take his car. She crawls out and he encourages her in a whisper to go, go, go.
So I guess he's the only one that hasn't been brainwashed
Yeah.
against her.
Yeah.
I was honestly surprised by this because we really only saw them interact like that one time.
Yeah, but
that's
they
true.
seemed friendly, I guess.
Yeah, but so did fucking Pete, and so did
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah, I mean, and Joe's the MVP,
He
but
is.
what
He's the
you're
real
doing
one.
is very dangerous.
really
Yeah.
bad. I'd be like, she had a gun.
Really?
The score swells as Miranda finally makes it outside, pressing the key fob and looking out at the cars. When Joe's car finally reacts and beeps, the music transforms from uneasy to triumphant. Miranda gets behind the wheel and starts the car. She backs out, pressing for the headlights, but they only flare and die away. Still, Miranda presses her bare foot down on the accelerator, leaving the prison in her rear view mirror.
When I saw the headlights flicker and die like that,
Yeah.
I was like, well, you could have told her, oh, my headlights don't work, by the way. But
The battery is dying.
yes,
I barely made
you
it to
will
work.
not get far. But the reality of it is, according to them on commentary, is that the flickering lights and everything that we've witnessed whenever Rachel is near,
Yeah.
that's that.
Yeah, that's what I thought because they seem to work later.
Right.
Yeah, okay, see, I didn't get that at all.
Okay.
I got that she turned off the lights to try to like be more stealthy
Right.
and take off, and I was like, that's dangerous.
Very.
dangerous.
So I
Yeah.
don't know why you're doing that.
The speedometer creeps past 100, but she is still shooting nervous glances over her shoulder. When she looks back again, she sees Rachel sitting in the back seat, reflected in the rearview mirror. Miranda screams and starts to lose control of the car. As she fishtails, she abandons the accelerator and slams down on the brake instead, but it does nothing. The car's speed only climbs higher, inching toward 110 miles per hour. She sees that she is on a collision course with a giant incoming truck with neon green lights dotting its side. She kicks out at the brake, depressing it with both feet, but the car continues to race. Miranda screams, squeezing her eyes shut at the moment of impending impact, but she does nothing more than clip the very end of the truck, sending debris sprinkling into the road as she speeds away, the engine roaring.
I just want to point out that none of that was necessary. Like, you could have
No.
just, like,
Yeah.
Nope.
I don't understand the tension of that sequence because you literally could have just waited. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't understand either.
Rachel's like, I'm the captain now. I don't know. I don't know. When she opens her eyes and realizes that she made it, Miranda squeals and laughs with delight, turning and looking back the way she came. But when she faces forward, her scream turns to that of horror again when she sees that she is speeding toward a cluster of orange traffic barrels with flashing neon green lights. Miranda's car skids as she crashes into them, but it finally slows to a stop. Miranda turns angrily toward the back seat, screeching, "What do you want from me?" But we pan back to find it completely empty. Suddenly, Miranda screams in surprise as the headlights come on and the radio springs to life, loudly blaring "Papa Was a Rolling Stone" by the Temptations. We see now that the car has come to a stop right at the edge of the huge sinkhole. So this song, I was like, Phil was in on it?
Oh, right.
Okay.
The answer is no.
No, but it would have been a good clue.
Right.
Well, what's going on?
I don't know.
You like the song?
Yeah. Like I have a Temptations greatest hits in my car.
Later, Miranda pulls up to a familiar-looking gate, and we follow her gaze to find the home that she shared with Doug beyond it. Every light in the house suddenly illuminates, but Miranda is unfazed. She asks, "Okay, now what?" The headlights turn off, and Miranda gets out of the vehicle, pushing open the creaky gate just like she did that night. She walks to the side door, reaching up to the light fixture to pull out a hidden key, and she uses it to unlock the door and step inside. I noticed here that she has it's just like a piece of fabric covering the wound on her arm, and I wonder if that's what's hiding that tiny cast that she was talking about.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
In her kitchen, food is rotting on the counter, but Miranda passes this, pulling a sweater on over her soaked clothes. There's literally like a giant worm in the fruit. I'm like, what the fuck, dude? It's only been a few days.
Yeah.
It's like, no, we just keep our fruit like that.
Yeah. We like to keep a worm there.
Keeps it soft.
Yeah.
It keeps it soft. But she walks into the living room, which is now cleaned up and devoid of any evidence of the confrontation. She calls out for Doug, mounting the stairs, which still bear bloody handprints soaked into the carpet. When Miranda reaches the second floor, Doug's voice sobs, begging her no. She sees him on the ground, pulling himself backwards, away from her, his legs splayed in front of him, the right one clearly broken beyond repair. He pleads with her not to do this to him, but Miranda watches herself come out of one of the rooms, clutching an axe. Doug's pleas grow more frantic, the front of his white shirt smeared with bright red blood. He begs her to wait, not to do this to him, but Miranda continues to advance on him in steady and measured steps, her face calm as if in a trance. She raises the axe and Doug lifts his arm to defend himself. Miranda tells him calmly, "I love you." Doug begs to know what he's done, but Miranda's calm breaks as she shrieks. She raises the axe, and Doug's defensive arm is no match for the blade. It is cut away with no resistance when she brings the axe down on it.
Oh my God, this guy's arm. This dude shocked the hell out of me.
Yeah.
It was wild.
Yeah.
And his performance crawling away, I was like, did they tell him that he's actually getting murdered right now? Like, it was so convincing, dude. It was really good.
It is a bit much for what we're this movie. I'll just say that for me.
He showed up.
Yeah,
He really did. I will say for things that we discover.
Yeah.
Very peculiar reaction. Yeah.
The Miranda watching this all unfold screams and reaches out as if she's trying to rewind time.
Uh-huh.
But the Miranda and Doug that she was watching are no longer there. What remains is the carpet soaked dark with blood and the splatter streaking the walls. On the double doors to the bedroom, the words are written in blood, "Not alone." Miranda slides these doors open and steps inside, but the room is neat and normal. It's when she hears the dripping of water that her attention is drawn to the adjoining bathroom. It's there that Miranda sees herself again, sitting in the bathtub stained completely red with blood. She sits up, still bloody and dirty as she steps in front of the mirror. It's there that this Miranda shrieks and her body thrashes, her hair whipping around until she's Rachel Parsons. She's Chloe. And finally, she is herself now, an escaped inmate with fire burning in her eyes. The tub behind her is pristine and white when she leaves the bathroom. Saying all these names together.
Mm-hmm.
Chloe and Rachel.
Oh, shit.
The missing girl, Rachel.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just throwing that
Miranda
out
is not that far from Xxena.
It's not. M.A.
Uh-huh.
I'm telling you, Jean-Luc, I see you.
I will say on commentary, they talked about how, like, seeing her in the bathtub like that, they're like, this is meant to be an homage to The Shining. And I'm like, well, I mean, not really.
No, she's just sitting in a bathtub.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the amount of blood is like the elevator and the bathtub is like the
Too
woman.
much,
And
too
yeah,
much.
if I would do this
You
much
gotta
work,
explain it.
Yes.
then it didn't work. And I bet that whipping around in front of the mirror was a lot more successful on the page.
Yeah.
What a
I
wild,
didn't think it was bad.
what a wild thing to have to perform.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. But in the bedroom, she sits among framed photos of herself and Doug, sobbing as she asks, why? Why me? A blood drop lands on the glass, covering a picture of Miranda and Doug smiling together, standing in front of a house. Miranda feels her nose, but that's not where the blood is coming from. She smears the drop with her thumb, realizing that this is another sign, and she breathes Willow Creek. Outside, the storm clouds dissipate as morning breaks, and Miranda guides Joe's car down the country road. It's approaching the house from the picture, and she steps onto the porch, her feet shielded by shoes finally, and she peers into the window, but the house appears to be empty. Miranda turns her attention to the large barn instead, where we press in on a rusted wind chime, twinkling lightly in the breeze. Miranda pushes the barn door open and lets herself in, but she is quickly startled to a scream when an owl departs, flying past her.
I don't think I'm wrong. This might be no, there's one more big one coming as far as Life is Strange comparisons. But it is in the barn as part of the collectibles that you take a picture of an owl. I just want to point that out.
And also, we are in a barn where things are uncovered.
Mm-hmm.
But moving on. And again, I'm not talking shit. I think that's that. If he took inspiration from this and wrote that, there are a lot of homages, but it is a different story.
They could not be really further apart.
Miranda cannot rewind time.
No. That's the biggest difference, I'd say.
Miranda continues to explore this dark and cobwebbed but normal-looking barn. She slides open another door to find shelving with tools. Miranda looks suspicious, but still she starts to leave until something catches her eye. A box for a digital camera. Miranda's gaze glides down to the floor where, among a scattering of hay, she spots a handle for a trap door. The score is frenzied when Miranda goes down to investigate, lifting it to a set of stairs, and it dies away when Miranda goes down them and into a secret basement.
This can't be good. But this trapdoor wasn't even hidden.
We weren't even trying to hide it.
No.
That would piss me off even more.
It's just there.
Yeah.
She has to push her way through hanging plastic sheets, but she finally finds the red light of a power strip, multiple plugs and cords hanging from it. Miranda turns it on and two large spotlights glow. They flank a camera set up on a tripod, facing a bed with crumpled pink sheets and chains, anchoring restraints to the footboard and the wall behind the headboard. Upon closer inspection, the sheets are dotted with streaks of blood. Miranda finds an open, multi-tiered case, the compartments inside all filled with bottles and vials of medicine. The camera beeps, its red light flashing to get Miranda's attention, and it works. Her expression is still stunned and her eyes are full of tears, but she turns the viewfinder and rewinds the tape. A woman is on the bed, smeared with blood, topless and nude except for her underwear, her wrists and ankles restrained. She screams as a man in a familiar outfit leans over her, promising in a whisper to see her in a few days. The man turns and makes his way to the camera. Doug looks at his own reflection, smirking as he adjusts his tie. Miranda's eyes widen in shock and horror as he boasts, "It's good to be God." And he adds, "I love you." Suddenly, Miranda hears footsteps above her and she arms herself with the dagger when she goes to investigate. But somehow, the person making the noise is already in the basement with her. They reach out to grab her shoulder. She screams as she whips around, thrusting the knife in front of her. Officer Turlington, played by Matthew G. Taylor, points his gun at her, bellowing at her to drop the knife now. But Miranda screams at him to drop the gun. Officers are above them, pointing their flashlights down the stairs, but Turlington pauses and mutters, "Oh, Christ." Miranda is confused until two bloody arms shoot out from the slats of the stairs behind her. They grab at her desperately, but Miranda screams and rushes to the officer for safety, cowering against him now as they both look at the girl who has squeezed her head and arms through the spacing of the stairs.
When I was 12 and I saw this and she reaches through the stairs, I'm like, I've never been so scared in my whole life. And I was like, I don't know what else could they possibly do?
Tracy Severs, played by Andrea Sheldon, sobs as she begs for help, blood seeping from the wounds in her face. Turlington yells for backup, but Miranda just stares at the discovered girl. This is a lot, Robin.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting it to be another cop. I thought she was done.
Yeah, it kind of seemed that way. And I'm like, it is odd to me that they came here, but they didn't check her house that she presumably stayed at all night.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah.
But whatever, we're here.
All right.
It's fine.
And real quick, Matthew G. Taylor. I did see it was interesting. He was in Detroit Rock City in 99, Exit Wounds in 01, and he played Nemesis in the Resident Evil Apocalypse movie in 2004.
Really?
Oh, shit.
Yes.
But we follow a police car as it travels down the road with its flashing lights on, finally turning into the parking lot of the sheriff's office, where Sheriff Ryan gives a press conference. He tells the clustered reporters that all he can say is that the girl has been identified as Tracy Severs, and her parents reported her missing 2 weeks ago. A reporter, played by Caroline Van Vlardingen, asks if Tracy has been able to speak. Has she told them anything useful? But the sheriff says that they can't comment on her condition. She asks if Ryan thinks there could be more victims, and this is the line for the sheriff, who turns, repeating that they can't confirm that. Just as he enters the station, another reporter, played by Al Vandecruz, asks if it's true that the FBI is taking over the investigation. Ryan's attention turns to him and he spits back. Why don't you ask the goddamn FBI? I was like, ooh, he mad.
Yeah.
Well, he did just find out that his best friend's a monster
He just found that out. It's
right now.
This sucks.
Yeah.
And it was as surprising for him as it was for us.
Inside the office, Ryan passes Phil and Pete, the latter reporting that they need to get her back to the hospital for medication. Ryan tells Pete that he's got to be joking him, but he doesn't break his stride. He goes behind the counter where Teddy waits, asserting that Ryan considers supervised house arrest pending Miranda's trial in light of the new circumstances. But Ryan gets the facts straight. Last night, Miranda dropped a guard.
Dropped. He was on the way out already, though.
Yeah.
We've already
She slapped his hand away and he fell.
Miranda dropped a guard, assaulted a nurse, escaped from a mental institution, stole a car. Pete sidles up to add to the list of charges. And she saved a girl's life.
So Joe really was like, no, she stole that.
Yeah.
I did not give her the key.
I would expect him to. You let me out. I don't
Right.
I
Yeah,
threatened
that's
you.
fine.
I don't care. Like, that's what he helped everything.
It is a bit odd, though. Does nobody, your sheriff, you're mad about a lot of stuff that you shouldn't be mad about anymore.
Yeah.
This should make you look better. Look, the community, we care about each other, even though she's going through this traumatic whatever, blah, blah, blah. Yes, she's, it's something, just something.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, dude, you're trying to no, she needs to go away forever. It's like she saved somebody.
He's mad because the FBI is here.
Right? And
And
but
that's all.
you gotta calm down
Yeah.
if you're trying to, do whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
But I think the thing is exactly that, because it should be, holy shit, my best friend is not who I thought he was.
Yeah.
He's a fucking monster. You killed him. I'm law enforcement. I should appreciate that a little. Like Dexter almost.
Yeah,
Or-
but the cops don't like Dexter.
No.
Well, they don't know Dexter. If they knew him.
But you are right. I didn't know this was my best friend. I understand why you killed him. Maybe he attacked you.
Yeah.
Maybe whatever. You were right. We owe you an apology, something. No, you're not focused on that.
But the shock and shame of knowing him for this long and not figuring out yourself, it could compute and translate as anger. It is a more accessible emotion.
Yeah, but anger.
He's going through a lot right now.
Anger at the system, maybe, not at Miranda
At
specifically.
everyone. His vitriol unabated, Ryan invites Pete to tell him how Miranda knew that girl was even there. Teddy admits that he has no idea, but the point is, pounding on the counter, Ryan interrupts that the point is that woman is still a murder suspect, which they already did this with Teddy and Miranda. When he's like, that's not the point. She's like, the point is, we've done this. But he invites the lawyer to come here, and Pete leaves to reconvene with Phil. Pulled to the side, Ryan levels with Teddy through the decorative divider, which I don't know why they're talking through the divider, but the FBI says that there may be more victims. He admits that there were needles down there and a video camera, and once the press gets a hold of that, it's going to get big and it's going to get ugly. And Arcadia Bay will never be the same.
Really?
His voice fades into the background as we follow Phil into a secured area where Miranda sits at a table with an officer on standby.
And I understand if you're going by the law. I suppose she has killed someone.
Yeah.
And it's not like take a penny, leave a penny. Like you saved a life,
Right,
and now however many people you killed, it's fine or whatever.
Right.
I get that. But at the same time, the circumstances have completely changed.
They've changed for sure.
Yes.
When Phil asserts that he needs to talk to Miranda, the officer gives them a little space. Phil stands at the chair across from Miranda and admits that it's hard to believe that Doug could do something like this. They worked together a long time and he thought he knew Doug well. Finally, he sits, wondering how he could be so blind, but Miranda points out that he wasn't the only one. Phil asks earnestly if Miranda thinks his daughter could have been one of Doug's victims, and she tells him with certainty, yes. That is what not alone means. Rachel was trying to tell her that she wasn't Doug's only victim. Phil lowers his eyes, lamenting that all this time they thought their baby died by suicide. He confesses that even after Rachel was gone, when his words falter, Miranda takes his hand and softly implores him to continue. Phil says that he would have a recurring dream about her until he started taking medication to block them out. Miranda asks about the dream, and Phil's voice trembles. She was burning in flames and terrible pain. He covers his face with his hand, crying that he couldn't save her as Miranda watches him, stunned. As Phil wipes his tears away, Miranda shares that that's exactly how she saw Rachel, burning in flames, and she wonders, what does that mean? Phil stammers before finally deciding that he wouldn't look for a real-world explanation. It's just a dream, a delusion. You're still saying that?
Yeah. Come on.
But Miranda points out that it's a delusion they both seem to share. Her eyes search Phil's pained face. Pete's cell phone rings as he drives along in his car, and when he answers, it's Miranda on the other end, using a payphone at the station. She tells him that she was just talking to Phil, and she knows now that she's been wrong about everything so far. The image is finally clear to her now. The man who's been assaulting the women at the prison is connected to the murders. It all goes back to the Anima Sola tattoo. The tattoo is the key to all of this.
All right.
Learning nothing from the experience they've all just been through, Pete asserts that Miranda has to stop doing this. He says that every time people start to believe her, she starts falling into the delusions again. But Miranda counters that she's not deluded. She's possessed. Wrong defense. I think that maybe we use different words.
Yes.
Pete asserts that he doesn't believe in ghosts, and Miranda admits that she doesn't either. But they believe in her.
All right.
I don't know if it's a great line or a bad line. I still haven't decided.
I know what side I'm on. I don't have to think about it. It's very strange to me that they're still attempting to do this red herring thing with Pete right now.
Yeah.
Because you're thinking about it and you're like, okay, well, this tattoo, this very specific archetype that he knew the exact name of.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We've established that they did not have an affair, so she has never seen him shirtless, potentially.
Right.
And so you're like, are we really trying to say that Pete could potentially be this guy still?
I just don't understand how he was like, she saved a girl's life. And then she calls him on the phone and he's like, bitch, chill out.
That's why I'm like, you still have this.
It's so weird. It's so weird.
Yeah, that's why for me it didn't really work.
Yeah.
It's the way that he keeps flip-flopping, or he keeps him defending her, and then here he's still like, you're talking nonsense. Why do you keep saying that? How do you not believe her? How do you not whatever, like, she did find this girl again. You don't have any idea how. She's telling you these details from this case or from whatever happened that you don't know about, but that are true.
Yeah.
Like, it is just like you said, T, we're still doing this?
Like, yeah.
That's really the only thing on your mind right now?
You're doing too much
to
try to make this work, and it's already gone.
Yeah.
And why not tell Phil, don't let them take me, dude. Look, I can help you. We can whatever.
Yeah.
Don't let them take me.
Yeah.
But Pete's like, well, that's just great. He hangs up the phone and continues to drive away stressed. Miranda hangs up the phone and Officer Turlington leads her back to her cell. As he locks the door, Miranda tells him that she needs to talk to Sheriff Ryan. But Turlington breaks the news that he's away working with the FBI. He won't be back tonight. Miranda insists that it's important, and Turlington just offers to give him the message before walking away. Meanwhile, Pete is sitting in his office with the lights off. He suddenly decides, screw it. He turns his computer on, the blue light glowing against his face as he types into a search engine, Anima Sola Tattoo. He clicks on a link from the list of results, taking him to a tattoo site where images of multiple styles of the Anima Sola tattoo become visible as the pixelations clear. Pete's eyes seem to glow red as he takes in these images, and he sits back in his chair, pondering. Our view lingers on a depiction of a screaming woman, her wrists chained as the flames engulf her.
And this is where I was like, okay, so finally they're letting it go.
Yeah.
He was not involved.
Mm-hmm.
If he's doing this, the film is finally allowing us to be like, okay, he's clear.
Yeah.
I guess I found it very odd. I found it oddly placed. I found
because he already knows what it is.
Yeah.
It's that.
Yeah,
I don't.
yeah.
What did you think that you were gonna Google it and a picture of fucking Doug with the Anima Sola tattoo? I don't. It was
local sheriff or whatever.
Well, see, I would, that sounds funny, but
Right.
I would have preferred him to look for local tattoo artists or something.
So yes,
Anything other
Yeah.
than him doing like you're saying. He told us what it was without having to look it up. He knew what it was. None of us knew what the fuck he was talking about when he said the name.
Yeah, or
but
maybe
he knew the name.
he finds somebody's OnlyFans and sees the pictures of them with no clothes on, and then he sees that the tattoo is maybe on somebody that they know.
it's very specific.
Yeah. What do you like?
Yeah. one might say too specific.
It's called detective work.
There's some frantic research.
He's trying to get to the bottom of it. But yeah, I just found it weird. And then when he's sitting there thinking about it, they put red in his eyes. His eyes glow red.
Is that supposed to be the devil?
I don't know.
As far as what
I don't
Chloe
know.
was talking about?
I don't know. Yes, I can see how it exonerates him, but also it makes him look kind of, I don't want to say guilty, but a little.
But there's no reason for him to be looking if he is guilty. Because he knows what the fuck it is. It's on its chest.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I don't know what to tell you. This whole scene was weird to me. It was really weird because it's he finally sees it and he's like, oh, I get it. But it's how? You already knew what it was. You said. It's it's really odd. I don't know. The lights in Miranda's cell come on, showing her sitting on the bed next to an uneaten tray of food. She looks up as Sheriff Ryan approaches, telling her that he got a message that she wanted to talk to him. Miranda immediately gets to her feet and goes to the bars to talk. She tells him that she does need to talk to him. And maybe this time he can actually hear her, because last time all he wanted to do was scream and yell and accuse her. Ryan interrupts her, asking if this is what she wanted to talk about, but it's not. Miranda wants to talk about the facts, which she points out are a little different now. Ryan sighs. He asks if she has any idea what happens to a small town sheriff when the FBI takes over his investigation. But Miranda's eyes have dropped from his face. She mutters, "Not alone." Ryan is confused, so Miranda repeats, "Not alone. I know what it means." She whispers, "There are 2 killers." Girl, I want to believe you, man, but not alone has meant about 4 things.
Yeah. I was going to say, you're telling everybody different things.
Yeah. She's like, look, I'm a doctor, not a detective. Give me some leeway, please. I've been through a lot.
We cut to later, where Miranda is pleading her case to Ryan. He sits in a chair while Miranda is on her bed, but the cell door between them is open now. She details that both she and Phil saw a girl burning in flames. Then she saw Chloe being assaulted by a man with an Anima Sola tattoo. It had a woman burning in flames. She asks if he gets it, admitting that she knows it sounds crazy. Pete even told her that it's crazy. But Ryan perks up at this. She told Pete? He stands and goes to her cell. When? Miranda shrugs that she told him this afternoon. Why? Ryan sighs reflectively before telling Miranda that he doesn't think she's crazy at all, and he doesn't know why Pete would dismiss this. He sits down at the end of the bed, asking if she really saw that tattoo. Relieved, Miranda says that she did. She saw it on a man. Ryan allows that he has heard of serial killers who hunt together, and Miranda agrees. It's your classic mentor and disciple syndrome. Ryan understands that now they're looking for the disciple. He asks who it could be, but Miranda admits that she doesn't know. Ryan implores her, come on, you're a psychiatrist. What kind of guy would this have to be? Miranda takes a breath and thinks. And I think she's been called both a psychiatrist and a psychologist in this film, but we're just going to move.
Well, he's like, I was Doug's best friend. I don't really know you at all.
Miranda reasons that he would have to be someone who grew up in a home with an absent father. He would have developed an obsessive and overdependent relationship with his mother, which would have turned into an inappropriate sexual attraction. Ryan raises his brows at this and shakes his head. Miranda adds that he probably got off on torturing small animals when he was a kid, and now, as a man, he's completely confused about his sexuality. That's who he is. Okay, Mindhunter.
Yeah, I will say that, but I also think it's the most stereotypical bullshit I've ever heard.
She's like, I read that one John Douglas book.
And that's all I've read.
I didn't go to school. We glide down across the wall from Miranda to Ryan, who sits and shakes his head. He undoes the top button of his uniform. Man, that's screwed up. He sighs and shrugs, guessing that a guy like that would seem smart and normal, right? Miranda agrees that they usually do. Ryan leans forward, warning that he doesn't want to scare her, but if there is a second killer out there, then he is frantically trying to cover his trail, and Miranda's a big threat to this guy because who knows what else she knows. But Miranda shares that she doesn't know anything else. Ryan recalls that she saw that tattoo. She found the girl at the barn. But Miranda admits that she found it all by instinct, which is not true.
Yeah.
Rachel's like, you're welcome, by the way.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like, that's why I beat your ass.
Yeah. Knew you were going to do some shit like
Take all the credit.
Ryan counters that this guy is facing the electric chair and he doesn't have the luxury of believing in instinct or ghosts. He'll believe that Doug confessed to Miranda what he was doing. Miranda shakes her head, but Doug didn't confess. Ryan guesses that maybe he didn't say it out loud, but she's a psychiatrist. There's lots of ways to confess. He sums it up that he's just trying to put himself in this guy's place. Miranda wonders why he didn't go back to Willow Creek then. Ryan asks if she means to take care of the girl and clean up the evidence, and she does. But the sheriff points out that that's how you get caught, when you panic. He nods that it's better to just let the dust settle, but he's going to be desperate about Miranda. Miranda asks if he'd be desperate enough to talk to her. Doug realizes calmly that she's right. He does fit the profile. He's a longtime friend of Doug's. He's got access to the prison. He never did get a kick out of torturing animals, though. Oh, my God!
I never would have guessed.
Yeah.
Dear, oh my days. Suddenly, he grabs Miranda and slams her against the wall. A struggle ensues, and in Miranda's frantic attempts to fight Sheriff Ryan back, she rips open his shirt, exposing a chained woman screamed and burning, the Anima Sola tattoo. She shrieks, "No!" But Ryan affirms, "Yes."
All right. Look,
Why?
I don't know.
Why?
Is he even aware of her knowledge of this tattoo at all?
Yeah.
Yeah, she told him.
Okay, well, I'll allow it.
Still.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's very dramatic.
Yes.
I think, again, John Carroll Lynch, he's doing fucking really good work.
Yeah.
He's
acting
great.
wise. That turn, because a lot was asked of him in this moment of
Yes.
playing like a lot of different emotions.
Yes.
Right.
And then this twist, and then you realize how frightening and menacing that he actually is and can be.
Yes.
But I again, this is very unsatisfying.
It is, because I think I kind of already knew a little earlier on when I seen him. I was like, oh, you're too noticeable.
Yeah.
You're too, like you're saying, menacing. It's just too much. It's like,
I was in here when he was watching it, and he's like taking his notes, and he's like, "Well, it's already clear who it is." And I was like, "I don't think it's very. I don't know how clear it is." And he was like, "You can tell his stature." I go, "I know, Robert Downey Jr." He was like, "Stop,
Come on, dude.
stop it."
We were talking a little bit off mic earlier about how the idea of repression was presented very early in the film.
Yes.
And it was such a prevailing theme that there were like 3 conversations about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it isn't brought up again.
Right.
I had thought maybe it could have led to maybe a more, for the lack of a better term, bleak twist if it did turn out that Miranda was involved.
Oh.
Somehow.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that she was
And
helping
she's
Doug
repressing it.
in the way that, yes.
Yeah.
And also the idea of Rachel and the way that she's been treating Miranda, that does not feel friendly.
No. It's and it would almost be like poetic of her using her to kill
Yes.
Doug, and because she has whooped her ass.
She did.
She scared the shit out of her. She's attacked her with the knife, with the scalpel, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely bleaker, but it would have been staggering. It would have been so shocking.
Yeah.
And I never would have guessed.
Right.
No.
No.
But you have that, and then Doug is dead, and she is going to prison for killing him for life or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, no, that would have been really good.
Yeah.
I will say, when I was a teenager, though, I couldn't fucking believe it. The sheriff?
I'll be honest, I didn't remember this, and I was telling your sister, like I said earlier, when I watching it, and I was like, I have a thought, but like I said, I couldn't remember if it was something just coming back to me or me, but I think watching it, I was like, oh, I didn't remember any of this shit. So it was a bit when it happens, it was like, oh, all right.
I remembered the sheriff being involved. I was so foggy that I almost thought that Doug was alive and that they were framing her.
oh.
Yeah.
Like that, I because the way that it all was very odd to me, and the way that Pete was acting and the way that she was being treated, it was all really weird. I thought that Phil was complicit in it, but I'm just like, oh, okay. I think it's still a cool twist. I think it's still a cool twist.
I think the unveiling of the twist is pretty interesting.
Right.
I like the scene.
I love the
Yes,
scene.
yeah.
Because like you said, John Carroll Lynch really fucking kills it. Because
Yeah.
when he gets up and he's like, what, you told Pete?
Yeah.
Like he's doing it in such a like, oh wow, Pete didn't believe you way. But he's like, you told Pete?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's he plays it so well. He's just such a fucking good actor.
Yeah.
And there are some moments that it does make you doubt Pete for a moment, because he's like, well, I do fit the profile. And you're like, if you're talking like that, maybe you are not part of this.
I trust you implicitly.
Yeah.
I love you, Sheriff Ryan.
And you're also the Zodiac? I'm like, God damn, dude. Your early 2000s were crazy.
But Ryan slams her against the other wall, her cheek smashing against the brick. Miranda tells him that he can't kill her, and Ryan agrees. He's not going to kill her. He reveals the syringe in his hand, adding that once this is kicked in, he's going to have a lot more fun with her than Doug ever did. He bites the plastic lid off the needle and spits it to the side. I was like, what?
Yeah, I could not believe this.
Miranda screams, but everything pauses when the lights above them start to flicker. Ryan looks around curiously, and Miranda takes this opportunity to gain the upper hand. She pushes the sheriff against the wall and stabs him in the neck with the syringe. Miranda runs away, and Ryan pulls the syringe out of his neck and throws it to the floor. He pulls the gun from the holster, firing at Miranda when she sprints down the hall. But Miranda is like, too fast, and cuts the corner into the next room. I'm like, Rachel, this was for her taking all the credit. Because I'm like, girl, you kicked Miranda's ass, but now that the chips are down, you're just flickering the lights to distract the fucking sheriff.
Yeah.
I was also very puzzled by the fact of you led Miranda right into the truth about Doug, but you leave Ryan out of it completely?
Yeah. She's like, she'll get there.
Like, what the hell?
She'll figure it out. That's what Doug told her at the beginning. You're brilliant. You'll figure it out. And she did.
Yeah.
We had to go through a couple drafts on what not alone meant.
We did, and we also had to have our hand held by a fucking ghost the entire time.
Yeah, no.
Ryan calls after her, but Miranda has slipped into a small stairwell illuminated by the emergency light that bathes both her and Ryan in its red glow, technically making Gothika 2003 a giallo film.
Oh, dear God, no.
Ryan continues to fire at a departing Miranda, but he hits a pipe marked flammable instead. It hisses a steady stream of steam. Ryan is like, damn it! He tosses the gun away and covers his ears. Miranda runs to the front of the office, but finds the front door locked. She bangs on it, screaming for help. I was surprised that she couldn't unlock it from the inside.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, Ryan has pulled off his shirt, exposing all of his tattoos as he runs through the steam and up the stairs. Miranda has to go back in the direction, narrowly escaping his grab when he reaches out for her. He is hot on Miranda's trail, but she's been training for this the whole film, running around that goddamn facility. He flips over a desk and goes sprawling, leaving Miranda free to run into the other room. When Ryan stands up and walks in, it's seemingly empty. We hover behind him, a huge tattoo on his back depicting praying hands and the word salvation across his broad shoulders. The sheriff stretches his neck and chuckles darkly as he scans the room. He limps over to the gun cabinet and unlocks it, informing Miranda that she tried to escape. Now he can do whatever he wants to her.
Is this fucking Ogden Marsh and you just have the one deputy and he's out? Like, where is anybody?
We have
I don't understand.
no guards, no hospital staff, no police officers.
And no cameras at the sheriff's station.
Yeah, no shit.
Because
Most
and no shirt
importantly-
now.
apparently, which is also an interesting choice.
It is.
We needed to see all the evidence.
I guess.
We already saw it, though.
Yeah.
He turns with the shotgun and cocks it, pointing it in front of him as he lumbers through the room. He admits that Rachel wasn't the first. Doug killed a girl when he was only 15 years old, and Ryan helped him bury the body. He kicks the door open and fires blindly, but luckily Miranda isn't there. Unfazed, he asks, "What are best friends for?" He turns and fires again, hitting the computer on the desk, which sparks before clattering to the floor, where we see Miranda curled up and hiding beneath the desk. Ryan continues that they got older, but he laughs that you never lose your taste for young girls. Miranda spots a gun, but Ryan is coming closer, sharing that after that, they stopped for a long time. But then Dougie saw sweet Rachel, and ooh, that was an itch way too deep not to scratch. He cocks his shotgun again as he towers over the desk, and he confesses that they had the time of their lives out there at Willow Creek. Everything was perfect. The girls would do anything because they were their god, until she ruined. But Ryan stops rounding the corner of the desk, where he is now certain that Miranda is hiding. His words cut off mid-sentence when he sees a shadow dash by outside the door. So again, Doug in the screenplay is a principal of like a high school, like a private school.
Okay.
And so all these girls that have gone missing, he has taken from the school.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, it's fucked.
Yeah.
But that's what Ryan is talking about. Obviously not in this version, but
Right.
you know.
It feels like they're leaving threads of a bunch of other drafts without attempting to tie them back together.
Yeah.
The sheriff turns and fires, hitting the door, but when he steps out of the room and into the lobby, Miranda isn't there. We circle around Ryan as he laughs. He tells Miranda sincerely that they both know she's not getting out of here. He invites her to be logical and end this thing, but his smile fades when he looks through the glass window of the office. There, a woman stands in a white gown, her hands clasped in front of her, but in the center of her long blonde hair, a reflection of Miranda's face floats. Ryan sways a bit as he raises the gun and cocks it, muttering, "Thank you, Miranda." But we see now that Miranda is standing behind him. Ryan fires, shattering the glass of the door, but the girl, Rachel, still stands there. The ruined pipe downstairs continues whistling, expelling the stream of hot steam. But Ryan, a little woozy, sees her now. He's like, "Rachel?" His view of her wavers and blurs, and a heartbeat pulses, growing faster. He raises his gun again, cocking it as he declares that this isn't logical. She's already dead. He points the gun at Rachel and fires. We follow this bullet in slow motion as it floats through the air, passing through Rachel as if she doesn't exist and exploding the computer behind her. Rachel dissipates as the gunshot creates a ball of fire that fills the room and shoots out, engulfing Sheriff Ryan. The frenzied score mounts as Ryan turns to find Miranda, a crown briefly burning on his head, his hands raised in mockery of the anima sola as the flames flicker on him. Admittedly, it doesn't look great.
No, they needed a couple more passes, I think.
Yeah.
Could have helped.
Yeah.
They said on commentary they were pretty pissed off.
Really?
Yeah, the cinematographer and the director, they were like, we really should have had more time for this. But then they're like, but they did great. They did the best they could. They did great work.
Well,
they tried to clean it up at the end, but they were like, we really...
Yeah.
When he sees Miranda, he throws his head back and roars. But Miranda now has the gun that she was eyeing earlier, and she fires. She hits Ryan right in the head, and he goes down hard, falling to his knees and flopping down face first. Miranda declares, "Logic is overrated."
I'm going to throw up. Look,
Yeah, what?
so much shit has gone on that I even forgot that Ryan said that. I'm like, what the fuck? What are you referring to? And I was like, oh,
Well,
that.
and you know,
Okay.
this
Yeah,
is her breaking
yeah,
free
yeah.
because he was like, she goes, "You listen with your head and not your heart." Pete was like, "You're the most logical person I know." He's like, "This isn't logical. Be logical, Miranda." And she's like, "Logic is overrated."
Yeah, that works well in like an 80s action film.
Yeah.
What we're doing here, you do not get to say that.
Yeah, I don't understand.
That was an odd choice.
It was weird. And this happened really fast.
It did.
It happened so
Too
fast.
Yeah.
Like insanely fast. She goes toward him, past his charred and smoking body, but she doesn't take her eyes off of him when she backs up toward the front door. Someone runs up and bangs on it, startling her, but she turns to find Pete on the other side of the glass, his face drawn and distressed.
What could he have found?
He learned. He found Sheriff Ryan's OnlyFans, I'm telling you. And he's like, "Oh my God, he does have that tattoo." I don't know. It
All
makes
right.
no sense. He presses his hand to the glass and mouths, "Miranda?" No, but he
right. You lied to everyone, man.
I only did it once.
On mic.
Shh. They don't know about that. He mouths, "I'm sorry, Miranda." Miranda breathes a sigh of relief and nods at him. And we never see Pete again.
Interesting.
In the screenplay, it ends like she kills the sheriff, and then they come in and find her, and they find him dead, and she, like, I guess explains what happened, like he was in on it, whatever. They see the tattoo, and they have her in like a room or something. They have her locked in a room. Later, when they go in there and open the room, she's gone, like she never existed, like she was never there. So later she calls Pete and she's like that she escaped. She took off. She's working at some shelter facility, and she's helping, women that have been through trauma. And she tells him, "Whatever there was between me and you, obviously it cannot happen, and it won't happen. And we definitely won't be able to meet up. I definitely won't be at this bar at this time tonight. And I definitely won't see you there." And so the end is left open, like, oh, they are going to be together or whatever. And that's how the screenplay ends. But here, Pete's just like, "Damn, dude, I Googled that tattoo. It's fucked up. Like, it's like, I came because I believe you now." Like,
somehow I pieced it all together.
Yeah, it's a little late.
Yeah, really.
I don't know what Pete's arc was in the film. But anyway. We cut to a city street, and as we glide down, the traffic lights are reflected in the rain-slick surface of the street. Chloe's voice shares that it's been almost a year, and she still has bad dreams. Sometimes she wakes up screaming. Miranda assures her that that's normal, but Chloe doesn't agree. Not these dreams. She tells Miranda that everyone thought they were crazy, but they were the ones seeing the truth, more than they could see. So I'm like, I love that Chloe is out. I love that she's vindicated. She was proven right. Her attacker was brought to justice. She wasn't in there because she was delusional. She was in there because she murdered her stepfather.
Yeah.
He deserved it. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I was a little shocked to see her out.
That was a little confusing, or kind of like, because you are right. It is that.
Unless they're like, "We're sorry."
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
We find them now, walking down the sidewalk together in the night. Chloe wearing a white dress and Miranda in a brown leather coat and a new haircut. Chloe shares that once you open the door, you can never close it. But Miranda counters that she closed it. She locked it and threw away the key. Chloe smiles that she really hopes that that's true. She reminds Miranda that her train leaves in half an hour, and Miranda steps into the street to hail a cab to help Chloe on her way. The two women stand, facing each other in the street, and Miranda wishes Chloe luck on her new job, but Chloe takes the opportunity to sincerely thank Miranda for what she did. She says that Miranda really helped her. But Miranda turns this back on Chloe. Chloe helped her. She taught Miranda how to listen. Chloe thanks her friend, and the two embrace as the taxi pulls up. Miranda whispers, "We made it." And Chloe wipes away a tear. She smiles brightly at Miranda as she gets in the back of the taxi and it pulls away. I did really love this ending for them.
Yeah.
I think there is a lot. I think that to me, there could be a lot of commentary here about women not being believed, about Black women not being believed, women of color, like being dismissed, whatever. I don't know that that's what was intended.
I think that we can put that onto it.
That's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because it is this moment of vindication of both of them were dismissed the entire film, really, especially Chloe.
Yeah.
Like by another woman, which, you know,
systemic.
Sucks. It is systemic. It is emblematic. It is sadly very prevalent. And so I did like this full circle moment of like, no, I told you this was happening to me. It was happening to me. You see it now, and you can see in a way that you were closed off to before.
Yeah.
And I really did like this ending for Chloe. I don't know how she is free, but I'm glad she is.
Let her go.
Miranda continues down the sidewalk alone, and we follow behind until her sure and steady footsteps stop. She sees a little boy, played by Noah Burnett, standing in the middle of the road, alone. The wailing siren of a fire truck is blaring as the truck speeds down the road toward the child. He holds out a pleading hand to her, and just as the truck is about to hit him, Miranda throws her own hand out as if to stop time, screaming. But the fire truck goes right through the boy, who disappears on impact. The siren fades away, and the street is now empty. Miranda looks relieved and continues on her way. Behind Blue Eyes by Limp Bizkit begins to play. I don't know whose eyes were blue.
I don't know whose idea this was.
Yeah, no shit. That.
And I cracked up every single time, because I watched this twice for the show, but I was like, what a choice. Number one. Number two, it's so fucking funny how Fred Durst is just like, I'm just going to be Aaron Lewis. Like,
he tried it.
He did.
Yeah.
But we float along to a missing person sign that Miranda just passed, asking, "Have you seen Tim?" with the picture of the boy that we just saw in the street.
So this is just her gig now?
Well, she ignored it.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
That was.
She was like, I closed the door and I locked it. And Chloe's like, it doesn't work that way. She's like, it does for me.
Yeah.
So I don't know if she's just like, I'm not doing this shit again.
Like, she's like, this has been like a year straight of this.
Yeah, I don't know, but it did remind me of Stir of Echoes, weirdly.
Fair.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm hoping that she's just going to save Tim or figure out, or like very Sixth Sense, like.
She's like, I'm late to meet Pete.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to be at that bar. But the weathered page flutters in the breeze, and Miranda keeps going. Behind Blue Eyes continues, and the credits roll. So, what did you guys think of Gothika?
So, this was fun. It's a lot of fun. I had a fun time.
Talking?
You already said that?
Yeah.
Or watching?
Talking and watching. I was happy when I watched the movie. When it was over, and I was talking about it. The whole thing. The whole thing brought me joy. I don't know any other way to say that it was fun.
You're just saying the same.
Yeah, no,
You're saying the same thing a lot.
I in all honesty, the movie was a blast to cover and talk about, and like the movie, there was a little too much that we brought out that was like, oh wow, that doesn't make sense, or that. But I wouldn't miss this. I'd watch it. I would even just give it a watch just to get a feel for it. It's fucking Gothika. I mean, not in a bad way, not in a good way. Just like, oh no, yeah, you should watch that. Don't be mad at me, but watch it.
Don't be
you check it out. The performances, people did do what they were supposed to do. It did look really good. I didn't like a lot of the stuff that was introduced, and then later, like, I do understand the bridge. I don't think it needed to be a little white bridge. It was just a bridge that you crossed over in your car to get to the other side. Like, I mean,
yeah, but we're establishing
I
me
get
and
it, but
Doug are best friends.
Right. But it could have even just been like, before you get to the bridge where we fish or whatever. Oh yeah, that's fine. And I get it that we're going back and forth, but that was it. Like, we didn't spend any other time searching around here looking for clues or show us where the body was found or where any of that. And about the repressing stuff and all that, I was like, okay, where's this going?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? For me, there was just a lot of things that didn't kind of work out, and later as they did, some things were predictable. It was kind of, I seen where it was going. Robert Downey Jr., I never thought that he was doing anything bad.
I think they really wanted
They
us.
They
really
wanted
did.
it, just didn't work.
No.
For me, it just didn't work.
No.
But Halle Berry does good.
Great.
Zodiac, John Carroll Lynch, great, fantastic. Like I said, they all do, and it does look really cool. But I just think it is just the plot and the pacing, and it hurts a lot of everything else that's good around it, and that unfortunately does suck. But I would watch Gothika again. I did enjoy it. Like I said, it was fun. It was even funner talking about it. Rediscovering it, coming back after all these years. For me, it's been a long time. So
Yeah.
it's like, dude, this is cool. But I mean, it isn't, but it is.
I agree. I feel like the nostalgia, like you said, Nay, is powering a lot of this.
Yeah.
The nostalgia is the key to all of it.
Yes.
Right.
I think that's the biggest thing for me, is that it is something to return to that reminds me of when we first watched it. But watching it now, there are so many things. That logic is overrated thing, I think, was the mantra in the writer's room. Because there's a lot of stuff that you're just like, this is wild and so against how anything would actually go.
Right.
The fact of her simply being at that prison.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely think this falls under the category of one of those films where it's like, just watch it.
Yes.
You cannot pull one thread.
Oh, yeah.
Because, she shouldn't be here. She shouldn't, unless this is some elaborate setup.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it really does. When you're watching it now, you're just like, man, there's a lot of these that are kind of piling up. Anything having to do with Phil and Miranda apparently not at all ever talking about anything that's happened in his life, or her never going into his office and seeing this picture. She should know enough about it to recognize her on the bridge.
Yeah.
That's a wild, wild thing for as long as she's seemingly worked here. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. And I do respect the unveiling of the twist. I do think it's admirable, but it's very, very predictable. There's no other way that it could have gone. And it is like frustrating how much they want you to be like, no, keep an open mind about Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, he didn't. I know he didn't.
Yeah,
not do
he
this.
didn't.
But they really want you to, up until the end.
Yeah.
And then what the hell is his thing at the end where he's just like at the door and you're like, okay, like what did you discover?
Yeah.
What did you LIMP discover? But I mean, there are good things about it, and there are reasons to return to rewatch it. I just think that narratively, it is a bit lacking for me now.
I think that it is funny how differently we consume things based on when we've seen them.
Yes.
Because this was an airtight, fucking thrilling, insane. Like this in my recollection when I watched it when I was a teenager would have been a fucking 10. This movie has everything. And then you rewatch it and you're like, oh no.
And I think things that you presented from the screenplay,
Yeah.
the connectedness, it's so much more logical.
Yeah. I think that I understand why some decisions were made where it's like, if you read, like, say you read The Stand and then you watch the miniseries and you're like, oh my God, that character is like 3 different characters from the book made into one. Walking Dead, same thing, where it's like, I understand that you can't have every single character from a novel. You have to kind of blend some of them together, whatever. But I think that the screenplay is not very long and it does have a couple extra characters. Like Phil's wife is involved. That monster from the fucking prison, Simon. There are a couple more nurses. There are a couple more inmates that help Miranda and help Chloe. And they have like, I don't think that all of those needed to be like Simon and the sheriff. They made him one thing. Phil's wife, they gave her shit to Phil. Like, I don't think that it needed to be done that way. I just don't. I would like to see a kind of faithful adaptation to that screenplay. I'm not saying that it was perfect, but it just had a little more cohesion and a little more logic, dare I say.
Yeah.
And I think it does make more sense. It's disgusting, it's awful, it's unspeakable, but it does make more sense that Doug is a principal. It does make more sense that they don't both work here. I just yeah, I don't know. 35-year-old me wants a little bit more from the story. But like you said at the top, T, nostalgia is a hell of a drug. And it is. And I still very much enjoy watching this. And I was laughing out loud at some of the parts that just flat out do not work. All that being said, I think the performances are really great. I think the cinematography we were talking about earlier has some really, really cool moments.
Yeah.
There are some impressive moments of CG. There are some kind of garbage moments of CG. I don't know. I think all of this, you really, really, really have to not pull a thread, not pull one, because then it's all going to come apart. I do not like what they did with Pete.
No.
I think that he's very confusing. And I can even say, if I'm trying to defend it, maybe this is, through Miranda's lens. Are you my friend? Are you not? Are you helping me? Do you have feelings for me? Do you hate me? Do you because I don't want to feel that way. I get why Miranda feels that way. I don't want to feel that way about Pete. Even if you're going to use him as a red herring, I think it's just not. It's just not. Like, it wasn't believable. If you had another smaller dude doing this in this prison, yeah, maybe that could have been fucking Dr. Pete Graham. Maybe it could have been. That giant ass dude with this tattoo that we saw in that cell, that is not Robert Downey Jr. No. It's not.
And again, if the mystery was only like, hey, who killed Doug?
Yeah.
Then your red herring is going to work a lot better for Pete.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even what we barely established at the beginning.
Yeah.
I think that they're at its core, this is a really fucking cool story of these monsters getting what they deserve.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily understand why Miranda was a conduit for it now.
Yeah.
I think in the screenplay, Rachel died 6 years ago. In the film, it was 4. I don't know why it's happening now. Maybe to save this other girl that was down here. I don't know. But I think at its core, it's a really cool story. I think that that twist you proposed of Miranda repressing that she was involved in it / is involved in it, whatever. I think that would be really fucking cool. That would pull the rug out from under me. But then we've been rooting for a monster this whole time, which sometimes is satisfying in a way of like, fuck.
Yeah.
And then it makes you want to rewatch it.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it could fall flat depending on who's doing it.
Right.
If it feels like tacked on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I have a lot of thoughts. I have a lot of feelings. We can slide into ratings too. I will still defend Gothika, I think, is my takeaway from this. I know that objectively it is not good. It has good moments. Is it a good film? I cannot necessarily say that. I will say that I will rewatch this. We bought it for this.
Mm-hmm.
It will be thrown into the rotation. I do get enjoyment out of it. I do get nostalgia from it. Even like the moments that don't fully work, I do get amusement from that. I know. Okay. I know. But it's still a good time. You just have to not look too deep at anything, digest it in a very surface way, and impose your own deeper meaning onto it like I did. And then it's a great film. Okay.
To change.
Yeah, everything.
Everything.
It's a lot of it. And you'll love it. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I know that this is too high. Okay. I know it's
Wow.
I know it's too high, but nostalgia does play a very heavy factor. And I do still enjoy it, even though I know it's not very good. Okay? So on a scale from 1 to 10, telltale tattoos, I am giving Gothika 7 out of 10 telltale tattoos.
Okay.
I still get enjoyment out of this. I still think the twist is really cool. I love that moment when John Carroll Lynch lets that mask slip.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's brilliant. I think he's kind of a secret weapon.
Yeah.
In everything that he's in. But I will now open up the floor to you.
No, I understand how, again, nostalgia, it is,
It's powerful.
powerful force. I did still watching it was like, oh shit, there are moments, I'm not going to shit all over it and be like, no, it was just fun. But I mean, again, it was fun.
It was,
But it is that. I think for me, I like and I don't like the whole Dr. Gray being God and then Ryan is the devil or he's got the whatever. If that's what was going on or whatever with the fire and the tattoo or whatever.
It's a 7.5. No.
Just kidding. If you're going to do that, explore that then. We're friends, but we're whatever. We can do whatever we want because we have each other's back and we, something. If you're like, because I feel like that's there hidden in a way for whatever reason, because he does say that a few times, I'm God or whatever. Then he says it in the video. Then this dude, she's saying the devil's coming in there. The devil's coming in there. And finding out it was him.
You're right.
He's the devil side of it. They're both doing bad things, but if you're introducing this, play off of that.
And there really isn't any kind of connection. There's really no reason for any of that.
No, at all. There's stuff there that's cool.
Superimpose your own meaning.
Okay.
Look,
What part did you not understand?
You gotta do the screenwriter's job.
Yeah.
All right?
Be hands-on with it.
Yeah.
It's not that hard.
But it was fun talking about it. I had a really, really good, this was good fun. You know what I mean? Discussing it. And I think it is that. I think the way that it carries on, some things linger, some things are fast, some things don't make any sense, some questions and some characters are confusing and some things are cool again, and then it's back to, oh, I thought we were friends, I'm helping you. Oh no, you're gonna beat me up to get what you want done or whatever for whatever reason. Ghost, I asked you to open the door, you opened it. I'm complying. I possess me or whatever, let's go do whatever you need, but you don't gotta do all that.
It was a lot.
It was just weird. There was weird moments and funny moments, but I did have a really good time. And I know you guys like this movie. I know, babe, you really like this movie. So for that, with all that being said, on a scale from 1 to 10, telltale tattoos, I'm going to give Gothika a 6 out of 10. It was fun. And I had a lot of fun. This helped with my score.
No, this was
we
blast.
had a lot of fun talking about it.
We had a lot of fun for a film that's really fucking dark.
Very dark.
No, yes.
Darker than I remember.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing that really caught me off guard as well, rewatching it.
Yeah.
I didn't remember any of this shit.
No.
And it's staggering to me because it literally is the entire point of the film.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know where 12-year-old my mind, I think I probably just focused more on the supernatural scares.
Yeah.
Or repression.
Maybe. Perhaps. A theme that we'll explore, I guess, more than the film.
Yeah.
But I think, there are a lot of drawbacks for it, rewatching it now. But there are some really good things about it.
Yeah.
I love the way they use this location. The production design to interweave these sets and this actual prison, it's great work.
It is.
Mathieu Kassovitz cinematography, as we said, there's a lot of really interesting choices.
Yeah.
Camera movements that do float and feel ghost-like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And tricks that you would have never guessed or would have assumed were something else.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate all of that. I appreciate the atmosphere. Don't appreciate the title. I will continue.
Fair point.
But the performances, as you said, are fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I love this cast very much.
Yeah.
And I think that they are all doing the best that they can with the material that they're given.
Yeah.
But there are so many logical leaps that we have to take and that they're asking us to take. There's a lot of things that they're trying to get us to believe that I didn't even think for a second.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. And honestly, the narrative as a whole is just very unsatisfying. I keep coming back to that word, but it's just like, God damn. And then that ending thing, I understand that Ryan has been drugged, but he's like, Miranda? That's not her.
You have to say it right. Miranda?
I don't know how to say it. I've never seen it.
But I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I have no
Shout
idea
it,
what
say
you're
it
talking
right.
about. And also, again, Pete, you have such potential to make such a really good secondary character.
Yeah.
And if you're not going to do that, I think expand Chloe a little bit more then.
Yeah.
Because to only have this confidant where it's literally, 2 scenes they have together?
Mm-hmm.
Outside of their first scene that was contentious and terrible?
Yeah.
So it's just like, I mean, you got to give something. But I don't know. Some of the character work leaves a lot to be desired, but the performances don't, I will say. And yes, nostalgia is powerful, but I think that it can only carry so much for me. So, out of 10 telltale tattoos, I think that I will also be joining JP and giving Gothika 6 telltale tattoos out of 10. I remembered a different film.
Well, that's all from us at Podmortem. What would you rate Gothika, and what should we watch next? Let us know on Instagram at the Podmortem. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and like our Stirhole Productions page on Facebook. Be sure to follow each of us on Instagram and Blue Sky at Blood and Smoke, at Juggalo Daddy 84, and at Travis MWH. Thanks again to Original Cinematic for sponsoring this week's episode. Please consider pledging to our Patreon, where you'll get over 200 hours of bonus content, our monthly schedule, access to our Discord server, and the opportunity to help us decide which films to cover. And if you're looking for Podmortem and Stirhole Productions merch, follow the link in our episode notes. Stay tuned until after the music for a special shout out to our Wendigo Getter patrons. And remember, in times of trauma and turmoil, it is easy to feel judged or dismissed. The most important thing to remember is that you are not alone. Until next time. Thank you for staying tuned for a special thank you to our Wendigo Getter patrons.
Woo! Yeah!
Very good. A special thank you to
Chris Ontiveros, Kristen Lofton, Megan Martinez, Kimberly Bass, Sophie Hodson, Anthony Jerome M., Jordan Nash, Kent Morton, Lala Thomas, Travis and Nisa Hunter, Miguel Myers ATX, Jennifer Perez, Allison O'Neill, Carissa, TJ and Angie Bronson, Gabrielle Trevino, Andy Teague, Applin Ontiveros, Karima Rhodes, Kimberly Kleindienst, Sydney Smith, Osvaldo Soto, Bobby Holmes, Donna Eason, JD Rizak, Molly Gerhart, Armand Spasto, Aaron Aguirre, Eggy, William Barry, Charity Oxner, Amanda Six, Mandy Rainwater, Eden, Jordan Roberts, Dylan, Liz Heath, Spencer Montalvo, Pancake the Panda, John Ramos, Michael Newding, Alexis Roberts, Dan Laveau, Itzy M., Gary Horton, Kate Lamp, Carlos and Sydney, Jessica Hunter, Helena Rudder, Alan Johnston, Mariah, Livy Fun, Scott Troutman Wise, Towton Watson, Mozzie Bear, Dave Burke, Emma Hagel Kissinger, Valerie G., Emiliana, CB, Taylor Santana, Will Lewison, Angelique, Smelly Poo Poo Head, Beth Bauer, Cookie, Esperanza J., Jason Kyle, OKC, Joshua Rumley, Danielle Peralta, Brandon, Sawyer Reese Farr, Sahara, Girl That's Scary, Cassandra, Andrea Simmons, Ashley Higuera, William and Xxena Rush, Ryan Brom, Megan Ochoa, Laura Lassiter, Eileen O, Marissa E, Henry F, Megan M, Strangely Sarah,
Christy Beck, Nancy and Andy, Amanda Lopez, Andy Terrell, Jason Hanovan, Erica Morin, Triss Wynn, K.87, Mariah Jensen, Carrie A, Lonnie Lono, Powell, Kayla E, Maggie H, Murder Stina, Kristen Marcy, Ori 81 Bariqua, Look Like That One Girl, Bog Boy, Felna 63, Alita Pui, Probably My Jugs, Kate Thackeray, Wade Pack, A Lizard, Bay J, Jay Rich, Topher Williams, Elena Metler, Valerie K, Christy Lee Kruger, Professor of Humanities Laura McCarricker, Naomi, Josh Smith, Autumn Green, Abby Kopp, Crystal 831, Skank Sinatra, Morgan Alexander, Tony Osteen, Julie Fredborg, Rihanna S., Daniel Taylor, Anna Kate, Heather Ortiz, Kim H., August, Vengeance Spirit, Jenny May, Glittery Fab, Malik Caselli Armstrong, Scarly D, Toya Shea, Katie, Martin Shaw, Star, Tyler J, Cam Davies, Patrick Hoagland, Raven, D, Wesley Tart, Kristen Jackson, Jacob Nordberg, Spencer, Samantha, Damian Grant, Half Price Horror, Clemmy, Erica, Jason X Rules, Karen Burrows, Aaron Norman, Stephen Rogers, Victoria Smith,
Patricia A. Graham, Erasmo Pena, Danielle Wright, Tabitha Thomas, Becca Boo, Richard Murray, Irene, Sally Slater 52, Jordan McCarthy, Christy Michelle Wilson, Rosalind Harnias, Emily Rance, Amy, Lisa and Kathy, Mike H., Kristen Sadler, Hannah, Sarah Jack, Casey L., Evelyn Knight, Paula Garcia, Ghastly Grandad, Megan and Alexandra Saldivar, Lisa Sykes, Sunny Jonas, Kelsey Niemeyer Cook, The Face Flowers, JG, Morgan Novello, Ashley, Alex M., Brandon C., Gordon Sutherland, Georgia Renlin, Ashley Poe, Najee P., Seth Schaff, Diana Joe, Connor Gormley, Carrie Parker, Katie Face, Jane Pillsbury, Caitlin Asher, Mia Franz, Pooh Bear, Spicy Calderas, This is the Zodiac Speaking, Jason the Ghost, Moldy Tic Tac, Brian Ward, Tanner Rutgers, Gremlin Keeper 22, Sam Spade 666, Veronica, Kristen Rhodes, Daniel Laurent, Carmito, TVR, Trev Heron, A Very Sweepy Baby, Randy Tucker, Nicholas Rage, A Lazy Boy, Nicola Williams, Sadison Miles, Jasmine, Stu Corbett, Daniel Smith, Brick O, Pullout Lebowski, Robert Murdoch, Jaden Nicole, Jody Grody, Lost Fan 08, George L. Robertson, and Mercedes X Bleeple. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We appreciate each and every one of you.
We really do, and we can't thank you enough for believing in us.
Ah.
Like the ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Take us home.
Until next time.